Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto was trained by demons in the Forest of Death. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by ToxicMeltdown, and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. 5 years after Kyuubi attack, Naruto is in an alley being beaten into the ground like normal, but something was different in Naruto's head. In Naruto's mindscape, Naruto awakes in a sewer that he'd never seen before. Since Naruto had been on the streets since before he was 4 and treated like dirt before that, he wasn't very scared. Naruto wasn't really scared of anything. He hears a soft voice saying this way, so he follows it. When he reaches a door with a number 9 on it, he opens it. On the inside is a woman in a red kimono who looked on the verge of crying looking at him. "I'm guessing you're Kyuubi," she gasped but said in a quiet voice, "Yes." "How did you know?" "I started guessing because of everyone calling me a demon, but the 9 on the door answered my assumption." "Very smart. I guess you hate me, don't you?" "No, why would I?" At this she started crying softly. "I ruined your life." "Not really. If it wasn't for you I would think these people were good people, but you made it where I could see how terrible they are. So I still attack them and they hate you for it." Now she was full on bawling, and while Naruto was almost emotionless, no one liked to see a woman cry. He walked up to her and grabbed her, shrinking her down to his size, and set her in his lap. The Kyuubi looked up confused and asked, "How did you do that?" Now even her voice was younger. "I figured my mind, my rules. Now would you please stop crying, I don't like it." After he said that he pulled her closer. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Why aren't you mad at me? I already told you. I look at it like you did me a favor. Anyways, I need your help with outside if you can." She looked up at him and smiled. "Yes, I can just bite my neck and drink my blood and it'll start the transformation." Naruto hesitated for a second, then leaned down and bit her neck, his larger than normal canines sinking in as he began to drink. When he was finished he started glowing and his eyes started swirling while his body slowly faded. The last thing he heard was "Give hell Naruto." 1 year later, outside Forest of Death, Naruto was standing outside the Forest of Death thinking of the last year. He had convinced everyone he had no idea what had happened the night he met Q-chan, even though he did. He also convinced the old man to get him an apartment the same day. Also, just last week he convinced the geezer to let him train in the forest for the next 6 years and it count as the academy, and all he had to do was take the test that he could pass. Now, he started rushing into the forest, not afraid of anything in here because he had been there plenty of time before. "Hey Naruto, hey Q-chan. When you get to the training site I want you to work on your physical attributes for the first year." "Okay Q-chan." 1 year later, in a clearing in the forest, Naruto was sitting on a rock meditating. He had trained extensively this past year, and was now a little over 4 feet tall. "Okay Naruto-chan, do you remember the plan?" "Yes, I will go find Mizuki, and you will put an illusion over me to look like Orochimaru. I will then convince him to take the forbidden scroll of sealing." "Right, and remember to not get caught by anyone." That would be easy for Naruto since he was basically a kitsune, and kitsunes are masters of stealth and deception. He had gotten so good he could sneak into the village and take anything he wanted and never be found. He started heading to the village to find Mizuki. They had thought of this plan so that Naruto could get the scroll and never be found out. Naruto was outside of Mizuki's apartment waiting for him to get home. Suddenly he saw Mizuki go inside. "Okay Q-chan, activate the illusion." "Got it." Suddenly a puff of smoke appeared around Naruto, and when it disappeared he looked exactly like Orochimaru. Naruto got inside the house and saw Mizuki sitting down. "Mizuki-kun." Mizuki looked up and saw it was Orochimaru, so he stood up. "Yes, Orochimaru-sama. I need you to do something for me." "What is it?" "I need you to take the scroll of sealing from the Hokage tower tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At that time a distraction will happen so no one will be there." "Of course Orochimaru-sama." "Good. Bring it to the Forest of Death, and I will be waiting for you. If you complete this you will become my second in command." "Yes Orochimaru-sama, I will be there." With that Orochimaru/Naruto disappeared in a shushin. Next day, Naruto had snuck around the village setting up minor paper bombs. He placed them at the Inuzuka's cages, the Hyuga compound, careful to not hurt anyone since he didn't hate anyone there. He put some in a set few shops, and he made sure to avoid the Aburama and Nara clans since they were the only ones who ever helped them, which is saying a lot since the Naras are very lazy. Naruto was waiting outside the forest in the Orochimaru disguise when Mizuki ran up with the scroll. Mizuki ran up and handed him the scroll. "Thank you Mizuki, and now die." Naruto pulled out a kunai and stabbed him in the head. Mizuki died before he hit the ground. After that Umbu found the body and they never found the scroll. Another year later, Naruto was standing in a clearing panting from doing an A-rank jutsu for the 20th time in the last hour. The jutsu was called Lightning Style Zeus's Bolt. The name is kind of self-explanatory and explains why there is a hole through 5 trees. Naruto sat down to rest and began to think about the night he unlocked both his bloodlines. Flashback night, Naruto met Q-chan. Naruto opened his eyes and red and purple chakra started pooling around him. In a giant burst that caused a crater to form around Naruto. His nails started to grow to look like claws, his ears became more pointed on the ends, his canines grew about 1.5 inches longer, his hair became more wild, and lastly his eyes stopped swirling and were purple with a black pentagram. Suddenly he charged at the 3 closest people, cutting their throats open. A low-ranked jonin in the group ran to him, but Naruto smashed his head against the wall, splattering skull fragments and brain matter everywhere. This continued until Anbu came upon the aftermath of a slaughter. The only people still intact were the 3 whose throats were slashed and one woman who had tried to stop them from hurting Naruto. And Naruto was laying down passed out from the whole ordeal. The next day when he woke up in the hospital he heard Kyuchan's voice in his head. "Naruto, I have something to tell you. Come into the cell." Naruto closed his eyes and started concentrating on the cell Kyuchan was in. When he opened his eyes he was inside the cage. He saw Kyuchan, who smiled when she saw him. "Good, you're here, I have something important to tell you." He nodded and got up to walk over to her, and he sat down and put her in his lap. "Now what is it?" "You have awakened 2 very old and powerful bloodline. They are the greatest human bloodline, the Rinnegan, and the greatest demon's bloodline, demonic pentagram. What does this mean and how did I get them?" The demonic pentagram was a bloodline the Jubi had, which is the monster I was created from along with the other bijus. I am unsure what it will do aside from what it's already done to your eyes, but I believe it was awakened from the rush of my chakra combined with the traumatic events last night. He nodded and asked, "And the Rinnegan?" "I believe it was awakened from the traumatic events last night combined with the fact you are an Uzumaki who are descendants of the Sage of the Six Paths. If I am correct from looking at your DNA, there is someone else out there who has the Rinnegan, and you both have the same powers, but certain ones are strengthened more. For you the yin-yang release is as good as the Sage, and you will be able to revive people, but you'll never be able to make the Six Paths. Also I believe you had more of the Sage's chakra/body while he got the digits apart. Reasons I believe this is because the demonic pentagram overlapped the Rinnegan for you, and even though I am inside you, wouldn't have this much chakra any other way. Now the powers of the yin-yang release actually end up being reviving people, but with paths it is much easier. The powers you will have great control over will be the Banbutsu Sozo, or creation of all things, which eventually will allow you to create items similar to the Sage's necklace, which augmented any element you've mastered, and his staff, which couldn't be broken and helped with Fuinjustu, or commonly known as sealing." She took a breath and said, "Okay, I'll tell you some more later." Naruto nodded and said, "That's good I guess, and now close your eyes, I have a surprise before I go." She nodded and closed her eyes. Suddenly it felt warmer, and something appeared around her neck. When she opened her eyes there was a red and black choker on her neck, and she was leaning against a tree in a forest. Out of nowhere she faintly heard "enjoy." End flashback. 2 years later, Naruto had been training with shadow clones and gravity and resistance seals for the past 2 years. He had also created a few things with creation of all things. While they were not the most amazing things, they were useful. He had created 6 earring, 3 for each ear. Each one showed how much progress he had with each element, including yin-yang release. So far wind was the only one completely glowing, fire was 3/4 of the way filled, and water about a 1/3. Earth and lightning were just barely glowing. The yin-yang one was about a 1/4 the way filled. Now we are at the clearing with Naruto again meditating on the rock. Suddenly he hears someone crashing through the forest about a mile away. He opens his eyes and starts heading that way. When he gets there he sees a blue-haired girl running from a giant tiger. He decided to stop it, so he jumps down when the girl trips and falls. The girl closes her eyes waiting for the end. When she doesn't feel anything she opens her eyes to a boy about 4 feet 8 inches with blonde hair that had black tips and silver streaks. She saw that he started talking to the tiger, and a few minutes later the tiger left. He turned around and she ran up to him and hugged him saying, "Thank you so much. It's fine, don't worry about it, but why were you in here anyways?" She looked up at him and said, "I don't want to bother you with my problems. Come on, tell me, I can help." She looked up and could tell he would help. She nodded and started telling him. About an hour later Hinata had explained how her father and whole family thought she was worthless. He could relate to the poor treatment even though it wasn't near as bad. "I think you are a very talented young girl that has been put down by her father's insane expectations. I believe you are strong and deep down, so do you." She looked up at him and hugged him. Later she had to leave and asked if she could come back. He said yes, but not to tell anyone he was there. 2 more years after, Naruto's training would end soon and he would be placed on a team by himself because this year's graduates graduated a month ago. Hinata was with her team who had just finished another mission. Even though Kiba and Shino were talking, she was thinking of Naruto, whose name she had actually only learned a few months ago. Suddenly they all heard a huge explosion at the gate, and Team 8 ran towards the gate. When they got there they saw a bunch of Kumo nin fighting Leaf nin. Kurenai said they would look for the other teams. It took about 30 minutes, but they eventually found the other teams of Team 10, Team Guy, and Team 7 who had Sasuke, Sakura, and Sai. They were just inside the village when a group of 24 nin appeared with the person leading it all. "Bow before me, Zarachi, and I won't kill the women, only making them slaves." "Forget that," Hinata yelled, throwing a kunai at the man skimming his cheek. "Ow, that hurt, bitch. Die." He went through hand signs and yelled lightning-style electric storm. A bolt of electricity shot out of each of his fingertips. Hinata saw that there was too many to dodge, so she just closed her eyes waiting for it. She felt someone pick her up bridal style, and when she didn't feel anything else she opened her eyes. When the smoke cleared everyone saw that there was a boy about 13 years old, 5 foot 8 inches, and blonde and silver hair with black tips. Naruto looked at Hinata and said, "Is this going to become a regular thing?" "Naruto!" Hinata shouted. She wrapped her arms around him. He walked over to the others and set her down. You got to let go Haim, I need to take the bad men out. She nodded and let go of him. Are we going to let some little 13-year-old go in there? Kakashi yelled. Considering he just took an A-rank jutsu head-on, and doesn't have a scratch, I think he'll be fine. Everybody was watching Naruto as he walked over to the Kumo nin. You know I wasn't going to kill you, but you just attacked my Haim, which is unforgivable. I would give your subordinates the chance to leave though. When no one left he continued, okay then. Some would consider you a demon, but you're not a monster maybe, but no demon. No, I'll show you a real demon. He went through several hand seals and said true demonic form release, and smoke appeared. When the smoke cleared, Naruto was standing there with even wilder hair that was completely black. His eyes were how they were supposed to look, purple with black pentagrams, and when he smiled all of his teeth were sharp. All of the Konoha nin gasped and most of the Kumo nin yelled in fear. Cue music till I collapse Eminem. Naruto looked up at them and smiled. Get him! Shouted Zarashi. When the first ninja got to Naruto he kicked him to the side, caving in his chest cavity. The next had their heads smashed together, causing skull fragments everywhere. The next three were sliced in half at the waist, and one behind them had a kunai in the throat. One stupid guy that came behind him had a sword through his forehead. Naruto licked the blade and said, I love the taste of blood. He pulled out a giant shuriken and charged it with wind chakra. No one knew this, of course. He threw it, and even though people jumped away, it followed and killed 3 and injured 2 that would die soon, because both legs being cut off is fatal if not treated soon, and the other had his innards on the ground. 2 guys that thought they could get him ran at him from both sides. But when they got there he jumped up, pulling out his blade, cutting both of their heads off. I'll show you how to use that jutsu. He stabbed the sword in the ground and went through hand signs and said lightning-style electric storm and shot out 10 bolts that hit every one of the nin, except for Zarashi, and killed them. Zarashi was looking around at his dead or dying soldiers. When looked up to look at the boy who did this, he was gone. What are you looking at? He heard this behind him and turned around, he was pushed down, and was stabbed into the ground through his hands by a sword. You'll regret trying to hurt my Haim. By now Zarashi was shouting incoherent phrases. Naruto heard Hinata, so he turned towards her. Please stop. He nodded and turned back to Zarashi. You're lucky she has seen enough. And with that he slammed his fist into Zarashi's chest, causing a crater to form and turning his chest to pudding on the inside. End music. Naruto picked up his sword and sealed it away. Then he went through hand signs and said seal, and his demonic features vanished. He walked over to Hinata and picked her up. Are you okay? Yes, thanks to you, my guardian angel. Yeah, well, even an angel can become a demon when provoked. Kurina walked up and asked, who are you? My real name is Naruto. Kakashi froze up, but you all know me as the container of Q-chan. All of the Jonin now froze up and the Genin were confused except Hinata, who just leaned further into Naruto. Nobody really noticed him say Q-chan. I thought the Kyuubi was dead, killed by the 4th Hokage. The Banshee asked. Ha 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 ha. You think a puny mortal could kill Q-chan? Naruto said. So you have the horrible Kyuubi inside you? Guess who, Banshee? Naruto released Ki, killing intent, out focusing it at the girl in front of him, and said, shut up, stupid Banshee. Naruto started to walk away, but Kurinai put a hand on his shoulder. Where are you going with her? Does it matter? Does she look like she's in danger? Kurinai looked at Hinata, who had her eyes closed and was leaning into Naruto. She nodded and let Naruto go. He turned around and took one step, disappearing, which surprised everyone. A few minutes later Naruto appears in front of the Hyuga compound, scaring the guards in the process. They were about to attack when he turned to them. Open the gate. They normally wouldn't listen, but he had Lady Hinata, so they opened the gate and let him pass. Naruto walked up to the main door and opened it. Hayashi was on the inside and stopped to see who was coming in. He was surprised when he seen a boy of around 13 years old carrying his daughter. He was about to say something when he noticed the boy was carrying her to her room. Naruto went into Hinata's room, placed her on her bed, but he noticed she wouldn't let go of his jacket, so he slipped it off and placed it on her. After that he went back to where Hayashi was. We should go to your study. Hayashi was confused how he knew that he had a study, but nodded and started heading there. When they got there Hayashi walked in and Naruto closed the door behind him. What are you doing here? Bringing her back, and I needed to talk to you. Why do you need to talk to me? I have a question. What the fuck were you thinking? Hayashi was stunned at the bluntness of this boy. Watch what you say, I'm the Hyuga clan head. Yeah, and I'm a demon, so what? Hayashi suddenly had a flashback of Minato and realized who he was talking to. You're Naruto. So you remembered me by my father? I've been told we look alike. Don't ask how I know, I won't tell you. Now answer my question. You didn't clarify what you meant. What were you thinking treating Hinata like that after her mother had just died? Hayashi had a flashback of how he had treated Hinata and realized what a terrible father he had been. I only wanted to make her stronger so she wouldn't die like her mother. Hayashi said, on the verge of crying. I know you had, but I'm glad you realized it. Now I must be leaving, I need to talk to the stupid old man. An hour after talk with Hayashi, Hokage's office. Naruto walked into the Hokage's office and seen the old man, who looked like he was thinking about something. Naruto, how are you? Said Sarutobi, who didn't really mean it. Cut the act, old man. Naruto said coldly. I see. So who would you like to be apprenticed under? Just leave me by myself, and use me for C rank and to help people for now. I guess that could work, and I can have a Jonin do something else that way. Okay, I'll do that. Where should I look for you? The forest. And with that Naruto disappeared in a black shushin. Next day Hyuga compound, Naruto was sitting close to Hinata's bed against the wall with his sword in front of him. Someone walked in, and he looked up at them ready for anything. When he saw it was just Hayashi, so he closed his eyes again. Has she made any movement? Naruto nodded but didn't say anything. Will you tell me when she wakes up? Again Naruto nodded but as a yes. Hayashi smiled smallly and walked out of the room. About an hour later Hinata started to stir. She opened her eyes looking around and saw Naruto, which made her smile and blush lightly. How are you, Hinata? Naruto said without opening his eyes. I'm okay. Thank you for bringing me back home even though I don't enjoy it here. Naruto opened his eyes and grinned. Don't worry Haim, I'm sure it will be better very soon. Naruto, what did you do? Me and your father had a talk which made him realize how bad of a parent he had been. Hinata hearing this jumped out of bed hugging Naruto and crying in happiness. Thank you so much, Naruto. Anything for my Haim. Naruto, is there any way I can thank you? Naruto was about to say she didn't need to when he realized something he had thought about while she slept. Actually, there is Haim, and I only trust you to help me. Hinata was wondering what he meant, but when she saw his grin it would be something weird, crazy, strange, or a mixture of the three. A/no mysterious. What could Naruto be up to? You'll just need to keep reading to find out. Couple of months later, Hokage's office. It has been a couple of months since the invasion, and Naruto had done some light training but was spending most of his time with Hinata, which is what he had done earlier until an Umbu had come by to tell him that the Hokage wanted to talk to him. He had apologized to Hinata and took her home before coming here. So what is it you wanted to talk about, old man? Naruto said. A/N When Naruto says old man, it isn't like in the show/manga where it means grandfather. He's making fun of Sarutobi because of his old age. Naruto, the council has called a meeting and have requested that you be there. Sarutobi said. Okay, then let's go talk to the council then. Sarutobi nodded and stood up, and they both shushined to the council room. A/N Firstly, the reason I have Naruto using the shushin so much is because since the shushin is basically a speed enhancement, by my understanding, so why wouldn't everyone use it? Simple, it costs too much chakra for a normal shinobi, but since Naruto's chakra is 10x Kage's, then it shouldn't bother him, which is why only the third has used so far besides Naruto. Secondly, there will be a few more A/N throughout this chapter. Naruto and Sarutobi appeared in the council room, surprising most of the council. Naruto walked to the center of the room smiling at Hayashi. What would the great council ask of little Omi? You could practically see the sarcasm he was speaking. What have you been doing these last 6 years, demon? Asked one of the dumber members of the civilian council. A/N Sarutobi doesn't like Naruto, so he never passed the law of not speaking of his tenant. I have no obligation to tell you, said Naruto calmly. You will tell us or else we will use that Hyuga slut you've taken to. Shouted someone like a banshee. Guess who? Suddenly Hayashi jumped up about to do something, but before he could, Naruto was next to the woman with a Rasengan inches from her face. Everyone gasped, first at his speed, which only some of the higher jonins and the Hokage even saw, and secondly at the legendary technique he was using. You will not threaten my Haim, or I will kill you, said Naruto still calm. She nodded her head, and just as quickly Naruto was in the middle of the room. Now before I leave, think about this. Naruto released the transformation he had and stayed there for about 30 seconds before leaving. Almost everyone thought the same thing. He looked just like. 1 month after council meeting, Naruto was standing in the Hokage tower in the office smoking something that resembled a cigarette but slightly different. His new outfit would make anyone who had ever thought of the Rakuto Sennin immediately think of him. He had a coat like the sages, but his had red, blue, and orange flames. His hair was styled the same way, but his was dyed bluish black with red and orange tips. His shirt looked almost identical except for it had a red line straight across. The pants and shoes looked like the sages, so it was normal shinobi attire. The only thing different that no one could tell was that the horns he had weren't hair like the sages, they were real. His necklace had 6 different commas, but his were each a different color. Far left was brown for earth, far right was yellow for lightning, second from last on the left was blue for water, second from last on right was red for fire, next from water was green for wind, and the last one was white and black, but no one but very few knew why. Naruto, I need you to back up Kakashi and his team on a mission to Wave, said the Hokage, throwing him a scroll. Okay, got it, Naruto said. Before you leave, what are you smoking? It looks like a cigarette, but I know it isn't. That's a secret. With that, Naruto left the office. Couple of hours later, near Wave, location of original Zabuza attack, Naruto had shown up around the time Kakashi got trapped in a water sphere by Zabuza. He decided to wait to see what they would do. He sensed someone in the forest, and decided to go see who it was. He left a shadow clone just in case. When he got to the person, he noticed it was a girl who was about to put on a Hunter Nin mask. He just stood there waiting. How are you today, miss? Haku jumped, turning around seeing a good-looking guy. I'm a boy actually. No, you're not. I can smell your hormones. How? I have the nose of a fox. You're with Zabuza, aren't you? She nodded, surprised by this guy. Good. Tell Zabuza that Konoha's demon fox has a deal for him. Are you going to let me save Zabuza-sama? Of course. With that, Naruto disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind a very confused Haku. Naruto got back around the time Kakashi was knocking Zabuza out. He rushed and caught Kakashi from falling from chakra exhaustion. After that Haku showed up like in the show, and the only difference was Naruto was acting like he had no idea. On the way to Tazuna's house Naruto spoke up saying that wasn't a real hunter. Zabuza is still alive. Kakashi nodded. Yeah, I realized too. How do you know? Asked Sakura. Currently Naruto was walking behind everyone with Tazuna in the middle with Sakura and Sasuke carrying Kakashi and Sai at the front. A real hunter would burn the body right then. Kakashi nodded his head at his students, and they all continued to Tazuna's house. Couple of hours later Tazuna's house. When they arrive at the house Tazuna knocks and a pretty woman in her late 30s comes to the door. Dad! The woman yells hugging Tazuna. I've missed you too, daughter. But we should go and these ninja helped me get here and one of them is hurt. She nodded and invited them in, blushing slightly when she saw Naruto. Thank you for letting us stay here, Miss, Naruto said. Tsunami is my name, and it's fine considering you brought my dad back. Is it okay if I smoke in here? Asked Naruto. I don't mind, but you know those can kill you, right? Naruto gave her a foxy grin. This isn't a cigarette, and I can't get sick. Don't ask, ninja stuff. She smiled. Okay. Also, would you like helping fixing supper? I'd love it, thank you. No problem. About 2 hours later everyone was sitting around the table, even Tsunami, waiting for Naruto to bring out the food. He walked out with his coat off, an apron on, smoking something, and holding several different dishes. Naruto sat everything down saying bon appetit. About 10 minutes later Inari spoke up. Why do you even try? Gato will kill you all. I want to help these people. Oh, you feel bad for us? You have no idea what it's like to suffer. Naruto got a little angry at this. I lived on the streets since I was 4. I was beaten and worse nearly every day. I had to eat out of the garbage. I have no family. You have a mother and grandfather, a house, food, and a bed. So tell me which one of us has suffered more. With that Naruto left the house. Is all of that true, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked. In truth, that's the nice version of his life. Everyone gasped at this but didn't say anything else. Zabuza and Haku were walking up to Naruto who was leaning against a tree. Suddenly they heard something behind them. What you doing? They both jumped and looked back at the person who was Naruto. They looked between the two Narutos when the one at the tree vanished. Shadow clone. Naruto said, answering their unasked question. They both nodded in understanding. So are you here to hear about my deal, Zabuza? Yes, but you have to prove that you are Konoha's demon fox. Haku was still confused about that, but didn't say anything. Right. Naruto snapped his fingers and smoke appeared around him. When the smoke was gone Zabuza and Haku both gasped. Naruto's ears weren't on top of his head but they were pointed like a fox's. His whiskers were very defined, claws were razor sharp, his hair went down just past his shoulders. But the most obvious change was 6 tails behind him. 2 were midnight blue, 2 were crimson red, and 2 were bright orange with black tips. Good enough. Who are you? Haku asked. I'm the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, Naruto Uzumaki. Now Zabuza, I have a deal for you. What is it? Firstly, we both know at some point Gato will try to get rid of you. When you go to the bridge in a week, you will pretend to fight Kakashi who will know about the plan while Haku will fight Sasuke who won't know, so don't kill him, okay? She nodded. Good. Zabuza, how long do you think you could cover the bridge with mist? I don't know, maybe 30 to 45 seconds. Great, when I tell you to do that, then I'll take care of the rest. What do we get out of this? I could get you into Konoha so you won't have to be on the run anymore. Why would I want that? You care about her, and you know she doesn't like this life. She's just a tool. Naruto smiled heavily. Then you wouldn't mind if Naruto appeared behind Haku. We went into the woods and talked, would you? Haku blushed and Zabuza was furious. Hell no. You won't touch my daughter. Naruto smiled and Haku gasped. I knew you cared about her. Naruto's face softened. Zabuza, don't push away people you care about. Zabuza just nodded and smiled. Next day, Tazuna's house. Naruto was sitting in Tazuna's living room when Tsunami walked in at around 7 o'clock in the morning. He looked up at her and smiled. Naruto-san, what are you doing up? I don't sleep much. And Tsunami-chan, please don't use those stuffy honorifics. Can I call you Naruto-kun then? Naruto froze for just a second. Yes, that's better. So why are you up? I don't sleep very much. Really? Yeah, only about 4 to 8 hours a week. That's not very healthy. It's fine, I've done it since I was about 5 years old. Okay then, would you like anything to eat? That'd be great, Tsunami-chan. 1 week later at the bridge, Naruto, Tazuna, and Team 7 had just arrived at the bridge to find several bodies scattered around, but only the Team 7 genin thought they were dead, the others knew they were just knocked out. Suddenly the bridge began to become misty. This mist isn't natural, Naruto said. Zabuza and Haku walked out of the mist both smiling even though no one could see it. Suddenly Sasuke ran at Haku who dodged it, and tried to perform 1,000 Needles of Death in Sasuke who avoided it. A slash-and fight happens like in show, except Sai tries to help Sasuke and Haku knocks both of them out as soon as Sasuke unlocks Sharingan. Naruto pretends to help fight Zabuza while they wait on Gato who they know will come soon. Gato walked up with around 300 thugs grinning madly. He signaled for them to attack when Zabuza did a very wide-ranged hidden mist jutsu covering the entire bridge. Naruto pulls out his sword while releasing 3 of his tails and getting to work. When the mist disappeared, Naruto was on the other side of all the thugs, but nothing else appeared to have changed. What the hell, brat? You didn't do anything, Zabuza shouted. Naruto turned around and gave such a cold grin even Zabuza shivered. Naruto walked close to the group of thugs and snapped. The thugs all just fell to pieces, guts and blood everywhere. Sakura, Sasuke, Haku, and surprisingly Sai went to the edge of the bridge and started throwing up. Zabuza walked up to Naruto and put a hand on his shoulder. Never mind. 2 weeks later at fully built bridge, Naruto, Zabuza, Haku, and Team 7 were about to leave wave after saying goodbye to everyone. After waving at all the people they began to walk away. So what should we name the bridge? Tazuna asked. The Great Naruto Bridge. Inari yelled. Everyone cheered at this. Okay then, the Great Naruto Bridge it is then. Tazuna said smiling. Little while later, Hokage's office. Team 7 just finished giving their mission report and had left. Now Naruto had to explain to the old man why he should take 2 missing nins into their village. Naruto, why should I let 2 missing nin into my village? Zabuza would be a fine addition to the village, and Haku has great potential. When you put it that way I must accept, but you two are on probation for 3 months. Both of them smiled, happy to finally have a home after traveling for so long. Now we need to discuss where you will be staying. I've already thought of that, old man. They will be staying with me till they find a place to stay, or can stay with me as long as they want. The Hokage nodded and Zabuza and Haku smiled gratefully at him. May I ask where you stay, Naruto? I live in the forest. Where, may I ask? That would be telling, old man. He said while laughing. You two can look around the village, I'll find you later. They both nodded. Good, now I must be going, I miss my home very much. With that he disappeared in the Shushin. All of the rookie 9 were at a training field discussing what had happened lately. Right now Team 7 were telling what had happened on their mission in Wave, and were at the part where Naruto butchered 300 thugs. Most of the people there looked at least a little green except for Hinata. Suddenly they heard a little yip, and there was a fox about twice the size of a normal house cat with 6 tails, 2 red, 2 blue, and 2 orange. He walked up to the group and walked over to Hinata and laid down in her lap. Hinata blushed furiously at this since she knew who this was. Everyone was confused at the new arrival but didn't bother with it. They continued to talk for a little while, even though Hinata mostly just pet the fox in her lap. Kiba was confused because Akamaru had been in his jacket the whole time looking at the fox with fear. When everyone was about to leave, Kiba walked up to Hinata. Hey Hinata, how would you like to go out with me? The fox that was still in the same place looked up at Kiba and growled. I'm sorry, Kiba. But I already have Naruto-kun who will be taking me out. Kiba smirked, oblivious to the hint. Why go out with that loser when you could go out with me? Kiba, don't talk about Naruto-kun like that, and I will not go out with you. Kiba was about to say something when the fox stood up, walked a little ways away, and smoke puffed up around it. When the smoke disappeared, Naruto was there smoking whatever it was he smoked. He looked at Kiba and grinned evilly. I'd appreciate it if you left her alone. Everyone except for Hinata was surprised that was Naruto. No, you don't deserve Hinata, you demon. Naruto laughed loudly at this. I agree, I am a demon and I don't deserve her. Everyone gasped at this. But as long as she wants me around, I won't let the likes of you bother her. I don't care, you won't have her. Suddenly Naruto appeared in front of Kiba, backhanding him across the field into a tree. He turned back to Hinata and she nodded, smiling. He walked up to her and picked her up bridal style, disappearing in a red and blue vortex. Couple months later, the Chunin exams were in a week from today and most of the genins were worried except for Shikamaru and Naruto. Speaking of the two, they were sitting in a clearing playing shogi. Shikamaru was beginning to think he would lose. Even though he was technically smarter than Naruto, Naruto was unpredictable, which made him hard to counter. Naruto wasn't a very serious person, so right now he was leaning against the tree with Hinata's head in his lap sleeping. Eventually it came down to a wire, but Naruto ended up winning. That was a good match, Sloth, Naruto said. Also, in the past few months Naruto had begun to give everyone a nickname. Hinata's was Haim, Kiba's was Mutt, Shino's was Insected, Shikamaru's was Sloth, Choji's was Hulk, Ino's was Skinny, Sasuke's was Team, Sakura's was Banshee, Sai's was Smiles, Lee's was Youth, Tenten's was Panda, Neji's was Bitch, Guy's was Spandex, Kakashi's was One Eye, Kurenai's was Icy, Asuma's was Smoke, and Anko's was Dango. Hinata's, Shikamaru's, Kiba's, Sasuke's, Sakura's, Lee's, Guy's, Kakashi's, Asuma's, and Anko's were self-explanatory. His reasoning behind the others are: Shino's was cause it sounded cool and fit, Choji's was because that's who he reminded him of, Ino's was because she dieted so much, Sai's was because of his weird smile, Tenten's was because of her hair, Neji's was because that's all he did, and Kurenai's was because she never accepted any dates. And Ino's, Neji's, and Kurenai's will probably change in the future. Also, the reason Sasuke isn't mad at Haku is because he got the Sharingan, so nothing to whine about. Nobody really understood it, but it didn't bother anyone except for Sasuke, Kiba, and Sakura. Shikamaru was picking up the board in pieces. You're the only person who can beat me besides my father. With that he left, and Naruto chuckled at the statement. Hinata raised her head, rubbing the sleep out of her eyes. Naruto-kun. Oh, I'm sorry, Haim, I didn't mean to wake you. She just smiled and said it was okay. Well, Haim, I was thinking while you were asleep, how would you like to help me with a prank for the Chunin exams? She gave him a foxy grin. His foxy nature had been rubbing off on her, and even though she didn't like pranking near as much, she enjoyed one every once in a while. Day of the Chunin exams. Everyone woke up that morning to screams, and the ones responsible were a demon and his princess. Oh, make number 300 reference. After Naruto had killed all 300 thugs, everyone realized Gato was still alive. He was crawling to the edge of the bridge. When Naruto started walking towards him, he stood up saying, "This is madness." Naruto looked around and then grinned evilly, "And oh, this is ninja." And with that he kicked Gato in the chest over the side of the bridge. Oh, make number 2 longest yard reference. Suddenly Naruto appeared in front of Kiba, backhanding him into a tree. Naruto looked up and sniffed. "I think I made him shit himself." Shikamaru woke up saying, "Did someone shit themselves?" Kakashi suddenly walked up but then started walking away. "I think someone shit themselves." Shino and Choji picked Kiba up, both saying, "He just shit himself." Naruto started laughing. "I knew I made him shit himself." In the Hidden Leaf Village, pure and complete chaos can only begin to describe what Naruto, and to a smaller degree Hinata, did to the village. Firstly, random bars had been sprayed with animal pheromones, which by itself wouldn't be so bad, but soon afterwards the Inuzuka kennels were all opened and all the dogs started humping random civilians and shinobi. The council had also been having a meeting that night, and about 30 minutes into it nothing had happened and everything seemed fine when suddenly smoke bombs went off, and when the smoke cleared every inch of the room was covered in paint, including the people. Now you might be thinking this isn't much, and you'd be right if this was all that happened. Every clan compound had been pranked some way or another. The Nara compound had all the deer wandering the streets of Konoha, and when they realized this they also found out that they had all been glued down to their favorite resting places, which normally wouldn't be so bad except that all the women had one way or another took pills that made their tempers go through the roof. Almost every Nara alive that day received terrible beatings. The Yamanakas, who are all known, even more so than the Hyugas, for keeping their hair in good condition, all had different hair dyes added to their shampoo. So now every male Yamanaka has pink or orange hair and all the women had purple or blue hair. The men of the family also received a beating for letting this happen to their wives/relatives/parents. The Akamichi had their food poisoned with laxatives, which doesn't seem so bad at first. But that night they had chili with lots of beans, combined with the fact that all Akamichi eat a lot. It was a very messy and bad smelling day. The really bad part happened when they realized that all the toilet paper in the compound was missing. The Inuzuka of course had to catch all of the dogs, but also all the condiments in the house had dog semen added to them. That night at the Inuzuka's was sandwich night and everyone used at least one condiment on theirs. When they found this out they all went to brush their teeth, which they soon found out were all replaced with ones used to clean the dog's teeth. The Aburame went to sleep okay, but when they woke up every one of their coats and pairs of sunglasses were gone, and all the others in the village were too. Most people don't know this, but members of the Aburame clan are very good-looking women and men alike. The reason they wear what they do is because they don't like all the attention it causes them to get. It should also be noted that the only shirts the Aburame wear are muscle shirts for the guys and tank tops for the women. The Hyuga clan had all of their male members' hair cut short, and on their mirrors and shaving cream "look a little more manly" was written. This angered them especially when a note was written on their closets, in pink, saying "or this will happen." When they opened their closets all the clothes in them were dyed pink, or bright yellow, with a few being "kill me" orange. Surprisingly the women were fairly untouched except for a note saying "be more feminine," or else with an arrow pointing towards a picture of the male closets. From that day on all the Hyuga women were at least a little more feminine, and all the men never let their hair grow longer. The last Uchiha didn't know he was pranked until he left the compound and saw different photos of him posted all over the village, ranging from him sleeping to him training. That morning a very loud scream was heard all over the village. On top of Hokage Monument, Naruto and Hinata were sitting down with Hinata in between Naruto's legs as they admired their work. They were laughing at the various reactions that happened. Naruto started to stand up, pulling Hinata with him. When need to start heading to the academy for the test. She nodded in understanding and they disappeared in a black and crimson flame. Academy. Naruto was walking slowly up the steps to the room for the exams with Hinata on his arm and her head on his shoulder. When they walked in the room everyone was staring at them for various reasons. The main reason for all the attention though was their outfits. Firstly, Naruto had finally convinced Hinata to stop wearing her bulky lavender jacket. Now she was wearing a lavender shirt similar to Kurenai's. She was also wearing some black umbu pants and black shinobi sandals. She still had a jacket on, but this one was a very deep, almost blood red, and had a yin-yang symbol on the back. The jacket was also open, showing off her gorgeous figure for her age. Naruto was wearing black cargo pants and black combat boots, which were odd for a shinobi but made sense because they would make kicks hurt more. He was also wearing a long trenched coat that went down to just above his ankles. The coat was crimson red all over with a black pentagram with purple ring pulsing out from it on the back. Whenever they walked past any girls they would blush and giggle. I forgot to mention that Naruto wasn't wearing a shirt. Living in a forest for over 6 years and training every day gives you quite a body. When they walked up to the group of Konoha genin, almost all of them glared at Naruto, which is understandable considering that Neji's hair was cut, and the clothes he was wearing were pink. Shikamaru had a fair amount of bruises. Choji still looked sick. Ino now had blue hair. Kiba didn't look physically wrong, but Naruto knew what happened. Shino didn't have sunglasses or a coat which showed that he had an attractive body. Sasuke was still blushing and was looking very pissed. Sakura was giggling and blushing while looking at Sasuke. When he got closer he heard Shikamaru say troublesome blondes. This caused Ino to glare at him, and Naruto to chuckle. Suddenly a guy walked up to them that had white hair and glasses. You all should calm down, you're attracting attention. After everyone calmed down he spoke again. Any of you want to learn something about a specific person? At this Sasuke spoke up. Yeah, tell me about Gaara of the Sand and Naruto of Konoha. You already know their name, that's no fun. Okay, first Gaara, he's completed 15 D rank missions, 10 C ranks, 6 B ranks, and 3 A ranks. He's the Jinchuriki of the Shikaku or one-tailed beast. Also out of every one of the missions he's been on he's never been hurt once. His knowledge of Gen and Taijutsu is unknown but he has complete control over sand so he is nearly impossible to hit. No known bloodline. Next Naruto formerly had the last name Uzumaki. He forfeited the name when he discovered his mother abandoned him because he had the Kyuubi no Kitsune sealed inside him. He was given the rank Elite Gen and something not given in Konoha since the 4th Hokage, and he has no known sensei which would mean he has taught himself everything he knows. It is believed his actual skill is equal or greater than Sharingan Kakashi. No one knows for a fact how strong he actually is because everyone he has ever fought seriously died. Just like Gaara, he has never been injured on a mission. He has completed 0 D ranks, 6 C ranks, 10 B ranks, and 15 A ranks. He has no known bloodline, but he does have the ability to transform into a fox with 6 tails. It is also believed that he has fox ears and tails. Everyone looked at Naruto in awe, even Sasuke, Shikamaru, Neji, and Shino. Hinata nudged him and he groaned, releasing one tail and his ears causing a large release in power, causing everyone in the room to gasp, and a couple started coughing from the power. He put the henge back on and everyone calmed. Suddenly a man with a bandana on his head appeared. All of you brats, shut up. He released Ki, causing everyone to be quiet. Naruto just yawned, releasing a little to protect Hinata, who immediately scooted closer to him, causing him to grin. Now everyone into the room and choose a seat, but don't sit near your teammates, or you'll be disqualified. 5 minutes later in exam room, Naruto was sitting near Hinata. He was next to a wall with her right beside him. The man they now knew as Ibiki walked to the front of the room. Okay brats, these you will be taking a 10-question test. Sounds easy but you will struggle. Now there's a couple of rules. Rule number 1, no cheating whatsoever. If you're caught cheating 5 times you are disqualified along with your team. Rule number 2 is if you don't get at least one question right you're disqualified along with your team. Hey, that isn't fair. A random genin yelled. Tough. Ibiki seen that Naruto had his hand raised. Since the kid was being polite he thought he'd humor him so he pointed at him, letting him ask his question. Are you finished yet? Ibiki was surprised at the balls the kid had. Why brat? Naruto grinned, he was hoping for that question, so I can do this. Naruto got onto the table and picked Hinata up, causing her to eat, something she still did but not very often anymore, and put he in front of him so she can lean into him when he leaned against the wall, which she did. Everyone gasped at this and Ibiki was pissed at the brat but he admired his guts and since he wasn't really breaking any rules. 55 minutes later, Naruto woke up from his nap to hear Ibiki say you all pass. He grinned when he heard this. Quite a few people screamed what? Well, I would explain it, but that brat understood it so I'll let him. Naruto grinned and said this test was meant to test if you could make difficult decisions on missions and to test your information gathering skills. Right brat, I'm guessing you figured it out at the beginning. Naruto nodded when the window busted and smoke came up. When the smoke cleared, a woman was standing there with a banner behind her saying, the sexy and single Enko Mitarashi, second exam proctor. Naruto chuckled and said pretty good, but I would have used colored smoke and painted the banner with different colors, but besides that, pretty good entrance. Enko laughed and said I'll have to remember that. Anyway, everyone who passed be at training ground 44 in 20 minutes, or you're disqualified. After that she disappeared in the average leaf Shushin. Naruto yawned before wrapping an arm around Hinata and shoe shining in a black void. Everyone gawked at this before hurrying off. At forest right after Naruto's shoe shined, Naruto and Hinata appeared and looked around. Both of them knew the place well. Enko appeared and gawked at Naruto. How'd you get here before me? I shoe shined? So did I. I still should have got here first. I didn't have to stop. Why? My shushin goes further than yours. Enko didn't question any further because Lee had just got there. Yosh. I was the third person here. Actually Lee, Hinata got here with me so you were actually the fourth. Yosh. I will try to move faster next time, or I will climb the Hokage monument with your teeth. Naruto suggested. Yes, I will climb the Hokage monument with only my teeth. Naruto chuckled at this and sat down to wait for the rest of the people. 15 minutes later after everyone had arrived. Okay brats, the second exam will be here at training ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. Each team will be given either an Earth or Heaven scroll and you will have to get the other from another team. Be careful though, or you might be killed by the forest instead of a ream. Naruto started laughing at this. What's so funny brat? Naruto calmed down and said I've lived in this forest ever since I was 6. I have the home field advantage since I know every inch of it. Everyone looked at him like he was crazy except for Hinata. Even Enko thought he was insane, even she would only go in there once a week at most. She kind of got mad because he wouldn't stop laughing, so she threw a kunai at him, and planned to cut his cheek, then Shushin behind him licked the blood, but when she appeared there he was gone. Suddenly she felt her kunai cut her cheek, then Somon lick her blood, making he shudder. Not as good as Hinaheim's but not bad Hibiheim. Hinata blushed hearing this and Enko surprisingly did too, even though only Naruto seen it, which made him grin. After giving back her kunai, she went back to the front. Okay, then everyone sign the waivers and then pick up your scroll and gate number. 30 minutes later with Naruto. Naruto was jumping through the forest thinking about what he was gonna do. He wasn't too worried since he remembered a couple of teams glaring at him, so they would probably come after him since he was by himself. They probably thought they could take him. He decided to get close to the tower and wait for a team. He sped up and within another 30 minutes he was a mile away from the tower. He decided to start a fire to help people find him. He set up some traps around where he was and decided to take a nap. 2 hours after the gates first opened with Team 8. All of Team 8 were on edge because they had just seen Gaara slaughter 3 people. Hinata was surprisingly the least affected by the experience because Naruto had decided to ask the Hokage for a mission to take out some bandits, so she could get her first kill out of the way with him near so she would be safe. The Hokage agreed and it worked out fine and was glad Naruto had done that so she didn't freeze up mid-battle from killing someone. Now they were going to stop soon and rest for the night, and continue tomorrow. Suddenly they all heard people screaming in pain and terror. When she realized it was coming from the tower, she realized it was probably Naruto's doing. She turned to her team and said Naruto. They both nodded in understanding. Same time with Naruto. Naruto was awoken by people screaming and went to check it out. When he got there he found some people had fallen into his leech trap. These weren't normal leeches, they were the size of a large cat. He smirked and searched them, finding the scroll which was the one he needed. He grinned and decided to go back to sleep and would take his time getting to the tower. Next day 10 a.m. Team 8. They were walking through the forest and found a clearing where they decided to take a quick break. They started to sit down when 3 teams from Kumo appeared. 2 of the guys from the teams quickly ran up to Kiba and Shino, quickly knocking them out because of their lightning armor. Even if it was nothing compared to the Raikage, it was still powerful. Hinata stood up knowing what they wanted and got into the revised Juken stance her and Naruto created when he realized the old one was too stiff for her, and she got ready for a fight. 4 of the Kumo nin attacked while the others circled the area making sure no one came. The people all rushed at her, and she juken the closest one in the arm, paralyzing it, then turned and killed the weakest one with a strike to the heart. You bitch! One yelled, activating the lighting armor again. He rushed at Hinata and slapped her away, which also electrocuted her. Then followed up with a kick to the back. She hit the ground but got back up. The other one who could use lightning armor rushed at her, but she got a juken to his neck, paralyzing him completely when the other lightning armor user punched her from behind, putting a lot of lightning chakra in it, causing her to almost be knocked out. Hinata hit the ground and rolled a little, landing on her back. The only one she didn't hit started walking towards her with a kunai. I said we had to bring you back alive. He didn't say I couldn't have some first. Another nin came up and said, Ryza, no, we need to be going. By her voice it was a girl. The one now named Ryza slapped her, saying, shut up or you'll get some too. Ryza got closer to Hinata, who touched the necklace she got from Hinata, who said to push some chakra into it if she was in danger. Ryza got closer and started to cut places on Hinata, revealing parts of her underwear and bra. Earlier 9:30 a.m. With Naruto. Naruto had been up an hour and had heard fighting and was rushing towards it. When he got closer he saw Team 7 fighting Orochimaru. He seen Sasuke trying to roast him, but it ended up only being an earth clone. When Sasuke was about to be bitten, he was about to step in when he felt a pulse of chakra from Hinata necklace, so he knew she was in danger. He looked back and saw that Orochimaru was leaving, so he decided he should help Hinata. With that he disappeared in a flash of deep purple that was almost black. Back with Hinata. Ryza had cut Hinata multiple times, going up her legs and thighs and around her chest. Hinata was crying but knew Naruto would be there soon. Now the real fun begins, bitch, Ryza said. He started to unzip his pants when he saw a flash of deep purple. He looked at it to see Naruto. Naruto saw Hinata. He was instantly beside her and picked her up. How are you, Hinata? She looked up at him and said, Naruto? I'm okay. He didn't get to do anything. Naruto nodded and seemingly disappeared, appearing some 100 yards away near a tree. He set her down and took off his coat, setting it under her. He vanished again and appeared back with Kiba and Shino. Shino, can you move? Shino leaned up and nodded. Good, I'm going to put a barrier around you 3. It'll be over soon. Shino nodded and Naruto went through several hand signs before slamming his hands down, making a black barrier appear around them. Once that was done, Naruto was back in place in front of Ryza. Are you the one who did that to Hinata? Ryza grinned. Yeah, and if it wasn't for you I would have raped. Q-san let the bodies hit the floor. He didn't get to finish because Naruto released 4 tails, which instantly released his weight and resistance seals. The power from one tail makes it hard to breathe. 4 tails made a couple of people almost pass out. Naruto pulled his sword out and pointed it at Ryza. You will die. Naruto's voice now sounded menacing and demonic compared to his old carefree tone. How funny, I'll kill you and then rape that bitch over and over. Everyone attack him. None of them moved and Naruto looked up. You have no chance if you don't all fight me at once. Everyone rushed him at once except for the one who tried to stop Ryza. Naruto kicked the first 2 away and chopped the next 2 in half at the waist. When Ryza and the other who used lightning armor got near, he smirked and chopped one's head off and kicked Ryza away. He ran to the 2 who he hadn't hit yet and slammed their heads together, causing blood, skull fragments, and brain matter to go everywhere. He ran to the first 2 and stabbed one in the heart, and then empowered his hand with chakra, and slamming his hand into the other's chest, caving it and causing him to die slowly and painfully. He looked back over at Ryza, who was getting back up. He started to towards him and Ryza started to back up, but Naruto threw his sword like a spear. He speared Ryza's hands into a tree. He walked up to him and grinned evilly. "Please don't kill me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." Ryza screamed. "What happened to killing me and rapping Hinata? Lost your nerve?" Naruto didn't give him time to talk before he tore a lung out with his clawed hand and charged it with electric chakra. He shoved it back and letting it electrocute him and burn the open wound so he didn't die too soon. "Now let's take a look at your memories." Naruto reached out, and using the Rinnegan looked through his memories, find what he needed. He tore his soul out and fed it to the King of Hell. After that he sealed his tails back and walked up to the girl who tried to stop Ryza. When he got closer he saw she was shaking on the ground. He reached down and picked her up. "Thanks for trying to help Hinata. Now I want you to go back to Kumo and tell the Raikage, tell him we'll be meeting shortly." The girl nodded. "I'm so sorry about Hinata, I didn't want to do this." "It's okay. I understand." She nodded and started to walk away when Naruto grabbed her arm, pulling her back. "This is for helping Hinata." He reached up and healed her cheek where she was hit by Ryza. "Thank you and sorry again." Naruto nodded and she walked away. He walked up to the barrier and tapped it, making it dissipate. Shino and Kiba were now awake, and Hinata had fallen asleep soon after the barrier had been placed. When the barrier vanished, and they looked around, they gasped. It looked like a horror scene, and the scariest part was Naruto didn't have a scratch on him, or even look tired. Naruto walked up to Hinata, who had cuddled into his coat, which made him smile. Not grin, he really smiled. He reached down and picked her and wrapped the coat around her since it was late November, and was fairly cold. He looked over at Hinata's teammates who were still looking around disgusted. Naruto stood up and had Hinata bridal style in his arms with her leaning into his chest. They looked at him, and he said, "I was being nice to them. It would have been worse if I didn't want to check on Hinata." They both were astonished by this. They didn't see how he could have done worse but didn't ask. They started heading towards the towers. Shino realized they still needed a scroll. "Don't worry, Shino. I picked up those Kumo nin scrolls. They had 2 earth and 1 heaven, so you fine." Shino didn't know how he knew what he was thinking but didn't ask. About an hour later they arrived at the tower. When they got inside and Naruto saw the board, he knew what to do. Shino, take 2 of each scroll and open them at the same time. Shino nodded and did just that. When he did, Kurenai and Irika appeared. Irika was about to start talking when Kurenai and him saw Hinata's state. Before either could do anything, Naruto spoke. "It's okay, I'll take her to my room, she'll be fine. I'm not letting you take Hinata anywhere, demon." Naruto snapped his fingers and a giant explosion could be felt from the site where Naruto slaughtered the Kumo nin. That Kurenai-sen was the lung of the person who tried to rape Hinata. Everyone gasped at this and thought the same thing, even Shino. "How in the fuck could you do that to a lung? Need anything else to prove I won't do anything to her? I don't trust you, demon, so yes." Naruto growled and pulled out a card in his back pocket. He handed it to Kurenai to look at. Kurenai took the card and looked at it. Kurenai's eyes bulged when she saw it. Naruto Uzumaki, listen medic, rank S rank medic, authorized by Hiruzen Sarutobi Hokage, Retsu Uno Hana head medic. She handed it around for everyone to see. When Naruto got it back he said, "Is that enough? I could authorize the Hokage to retire if I wanted to." With that he walked away to find his room. Shino turned towards Kurenai. "Kurenai-sensei, is that true?" "Yes, Shino-kun, he could authorize the retirement of the Hokage if he had a valid medical reason." In Naruto's room, Naruto finally found him room. He knew it was his because when he walked in there was only one bed. He walked up to it and laid Hinata down. She whined when she lost his body heat, which made him smile, and Chuckle started at her feet and started to heal her wounds. They weren't too deep but they were numerous. He counted close to 100 at first glance. He started to heal her and got to her waist when Hinata started to wake. "Naruto-kun, it's okay, Hinata. I'm just healing you right now." About 20 minutes later he was almost done. He had a few left on the left arm and the whole right arm. He was finished about 5 minutes later. He looked up at Hinata, who was just watching him. "Okay, Hinata, I am going to help you stand. Tell me if you feel anything hurt." He wrapped his arm around her and helped her stand up. When she did, she instantly yelped and said yes. He laid her back down. "Okay, what is hurting, Hinata?" "I think a couple of ribs and maybe my left lung is bruised." "Okay, I'm gonna need to take off your shirt, okay?" She nodded and he made a chakra blade to cut it off since it was ruined anyway. He leaned down and did a diagnostic, finding that 3 ribs were broken, 2 were bruised, and the rest were cracked. Also she had a bruised lung, and her right hip was cracked. "Okay, Hinata, I can fix it all in about 30 minutes, but you have a cracked hip so I'll need to take your pants off." She blushed but nodded since she knew Naruto would never do anything. Naruto smiled and got to work. It only took 20 minutes to heal the ribs and lung, and after cutting her pants off since they too were ruined he got to work on the hip. It took him about 5 minutes to finish that. He stood up and grinned. "There we go, it's finished. I don't know what clothes I have sealed but I can see if I've got anything. You want me to?" Hinata looked up at him and nodded. "Yes, please." Naruto chuckled and leaned down, kissing her on the cheek. He walked over his coat near the door and looked in the pockets, pulling out a scroll labeled clothes. He unsealed everything in it, only finding a couple of shirts. He picked the biggest one and another for him before walking over to Hinata. Here you go Hina-chan, it's all I've got with me. I'll get you some clothes tomorrow. Sorry. Hinata took it and put it on. It was an orange shirt with a fox on the front. It's okay Naruto-kun. I don't mind. Okay Hina-chan, I'm going to take a shower okay. She nodded and he walked over to the bathroom and went in. 15 minutes later, Naruto walked out of the bathroom drying his hair with a towel and his pants on. He seen that Hinata was asleep so he walked over and kissed her. Good night Hina-chan. Naruto grabbed his sword and sat down and leaned against the wall right next to the bed on Hinata's side. He used the sword to keep himself from falling forward. He knew he wouldn't go to sleep for a while but he didn't mind, he was just glad Hinata was safe. Suddenly Hinata reached out and grabbed his arm. Naruto-kun, why don't you lay down with me? I'm okay Hinata. Please Naruto-kun. Naruto sighed. You're not gonna let me say no, are you? She nodded. I thought so. Fine, I'll get in bed. She smiled and he stood up, going to the other side and climbing in. He got under the covers and wrapped his arm around Hinata who was snuggled against his chest. He smiled at her. Good night Naruto-kun. She kissed him and he said, good night Hina-chan. Next morning same room 8 a.m. Naruto and Hinata were still asleep. People were outside the room talking. Hokage-sama, I'm telling you he took her in there, and she never came out. Kurenai-chan, calm down, the brats aren't doing anything. She is right Kurenai. The three people walked in the room to see Naruto laying on his side with Hinata curled up to his chest. Oh, the brats are so cute. Anko said. She pulled a camera and took a picture, but when the flash went away Naruto threw a kunai at it, shattering it without even moving much, or looking. Please explain why I'm being woken up from the best sleep I've ever had before I kill you all. Naruto said, still not moving. Naruto, are you not embarrassed by your position? The Hokage asked. I don't get embarrassed. He said like it was the simplest thing ever. Okay then. Well, we are here to check on Hinata-chan there. As you can see she got attention from a S-rank medic. I promise she's fine. Naruto, as your commanding officer I order you to let her go. Not on a mission and not endangering the village, so you can't do shit. Kurenai gritted her teeth and turned towards the Hokage who nodded. Naruto is right, you can't order him to do anything in the current situation. Kurenai was about to comment when Naruto spoke up. How about a bet? Go on. Kurenai said. If I can trap you in a genjutsu that you can't get out of, you have to leave us alone. If you break it then I'll leave. Kurenai grinned. Okay deal. Naruto grinned and leaned down saying, Hina-chan, I have to do something but I'll be back soon. Hinata whined then said, okay but hurry, you're warm. Naruto chuckled and then climbed out of bed. Both women blushed and Anko whistled. Dang, you're ripped, you know that Naruto. Naruto grinned. That's not the only place I'm big either. He left the room leaving a deeply blushing Kurenai, a drooling Anko, and a laughing Hokage. Once they calmed down they left the room. Kurenai walked across from Naruto waiting for it. Naruto smiled evilly. Prepare yourself Kure-chan. Kurenai didn't even reply before Naruto went through around 10 hand signs then saying, Ultimate Tsukiyomi. Kurenai instantly collapsed and was crying before passing out. Anko and Sarutobi were astonished how fast that was. They weren't sure what would happen but they didn't expect that. That was the improved version of Itachi's Tsukiyomi. I just tripled the time inside and reduced the time outside to a third. Sarutobi gasped. You mean to tell me you tortured her for 216 hours in less than a second? Naruto grinned evilly. Yeah? Oh, and old man, we need to talk after the second exam about Hinata's attempted kidnapping. The Hokage nodded. Anko, when we talk I want you to be there too. Anko was curious. Why? He smiled at her. I might be able to remove your curse. She gasped, but before she could respond Hinata came out rubbing her eyes and wearing Naruto's shirt, but it went to her lower thighs so it was fine. Naruto-kun, please come back to bed, it's cold without you. Naruto chuckled and walked over to her. Oh, old man, can you get someone to bring Hinata some clothes? The Hokage nodded. Thanks. Naruto and Hinata walked over to the bed and climbed back into bed and got into the same position from before. Naruto leaned down and kissed Hinata on the forehead. I love you, Naruto-kun. I love you too, Hinaheim. Later that day, Naruto and Hinata got out of bed around 11 because Hinata's clothes were there and they were hungry. Naruto told Hinata she could take a shower while he went to get some food. She did, so he went to find some food. Naruto found the cafeteria and got 4 bowls of ramen and a dozen cinnamon buns. He was about to walk out when Ino got in front of him. He looked at her with a raised eyebrow. She was blushing and it took him a second to realize he forgot to put a shirt on. That explained why the cafe woman wouldn't let him pay. What's up, Ino? Naruto, did you really kill 3 teams of Kumo nin out in the forest at the same time? Naruto raised an eyebrow. Yeah, why? Really? Why? One of them was going to rape Hina-chan, and then they were gonna take her to Kumo to get the Byakugan. Ino gasped. I see. Okay then, bye Naruto. She ran away and Naruto just shrugged. Naruto started walking to the room. He got there in about 5 minutes. He knocked on the door, and Hinata said it was okay. He walked in and Hinata was in an outfit just like her other. She looked up and smiled. He smiled back. I brought you cinnamon buns. He held up the bag and he was tackled by Hinata. She grabbed the bag and kissed him. Thank you, Naruto-kun. You know just what to get me. He smiled and stood back up and went to sit down. He started to eat. They ate in comfortable silence. Once they were done he took the trash and threw it away. He felt Hinata touch his shoulder so she looked back at her. What is it, Hina-chan? Something wrong? She blushed. No. I was wondering if I could. Even with his enhanced hearing he had no idea what she said. Sorry Hina-chan, I didn't hear you. She blushed deeper. I was wondering if I could stay here again tonight. He looked at her and chuckled. Of course you can Hina-chan. I'd like that. She smiled and hugged him. Thank you Naruto-kun. He smiled and hugged her back. No problem. The next morning, just like yesterday, there was voices outside the door talking. I'm telling you he really did it. I don't believe you Ino-pig. YOSH. Munch. 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 Troublesome. Ino's right, he slaughtered those Nin. You shouldn't worry why you ask, because you could just ask him. Shino's right guys. They opened the door to see Naruto laying on his back and Hinata with her head on his chest. Ah. Said Tenten, Ino, and Sakura at the same time. Blackmail. Kiba said. He pulled out a camera and took a picture, but just like the last time Naruto threw a kunai, destroying the camera without even looking. What the fuck do you want? Naruto asked without opening his eyes. Ino was the first to respond. They were wondering if you could answer their questions. Naruto groaned. Will you leave if I do? They all nodded, and even though he didn't open his eyes he knew. He leaned down. Hina-chan, I need to do something again. I'll be back soon. She whined, grabbing him. Please hurry, it's cold without you. Naruto chuckled like yesterday. Of course Haim. He got out of bed grabbing his sword. The three girls blushed at him. He walked out of the room and they followed. He laid his sword on his shoulder. You each get one question. Go. He pointed at Kiba. You first. Kiba nodded and thought for a second. Why are you in the bed with Hinata? Good question. Mainly because she won't let me lay against the wall beside the bed and I don't feel like arguing. Good enough. Kiba nodded. Naruto pointed at Shino. You next. Shino nodded and thought like Kiba. How strong do you think you are? Good wording. I was able to put your sensei in a genjutsu that knocked her out, and she's the best genjutsu in the village. Good enough. Everyone just stared at him before Shino nodded. Naruto pointed at Tenten. Your turn. Tenten knew what you wanted. Can I hold your sword? He nodded, unsheathing it, and twirling it around, handing it to her. She looked closely at it. The grip was black with crimson flames. Along the blade was the image of a giant fox with 9 tails. It's beautiful. Does it have a name? He nodded. Her name is Ryujin Jaka. Here, I'll show you something. He grabbed it and channeled chakra through it, making a strange long gauge appear on it. That mean turn all of creation to ash. Ryujin Jaka. That is the second stage of Ryujin Jaka. Cool. Everyone said. Naruto sheated again and pointed at Lee. You're next. Yash. He thought for a second. Do you think I could hit you? Naruto smiled. With or without your weights. Lee gasped. How did you know about those? I can look at you and tell. Let me see them. Lee nodded and took them off, handing them to Naruto. Naruto held them easily, surprising Lee and Tenten. What's so special about weights? Guess who? Watch. He dropped them, causing a rather large dent in the floor. Most of them were wide-eyed. He smirked and handed them to Lee, who put them on. Hold on a sec. He walked back in the room. He walked out holding his coat. Everyone was confused and he smiled, handing it to Lee, who picked it up easily. I'm confused, Naruto. Lee said. Oh yeah, sorry. Let me see it. Lee handed him the coat and Naruto activated the weights. Here, I activated the weights. Lee took it and instantly dropped to the floor. Naruto picked it up and put it on. Answer your question? Lee nodded and Naruto pointed at Choji. You're next. Did you really slaughter 3 teams from Kumo? He grinned evilly. Yes. Most gasped and he pointed at Shikamaru. You next. Troublesome. He thought for a second. Why and how? Good wording. They attacked Hinata's team and one was going to rape Hinata, then they were going to take her to Kumo for the Byakugan. They all gasped. I caved one's chest in, stab another in the heart, slice 2 in half at the waist, cut another's head off, slam 2 of them's heads together, and the one who tried to rape Hinata, I stabbed his hands into a tree, then I tore his lung out, and shoved it back in to electrocute him and burn the open wound close, and then, when we got to the tower, I blew it up. That's what that explosion was. Most of them yelled. He pointed at Ino. You next. She nodded before thinking for a second, then giggled. How big is your? Most of them looked at her like she was crazy except for Naruto. I did say one question, but you can't tell anyone? She nodded and he grinned. He leaned towards her and whispered something. She blushed like a tomato and started giggling. He pointed at Sakura. You last. She nodded and thought for a second. What would you have done if they did rape Hinata? Everyone except for Naruto thought the same thing. You stupid fucking bitch. Naruto suddenly started laughing evilly. This continued for nearly a minute. He stopped and turned serious. I would still be torturing him and would continue until I ran out of chakra, and because of a special genjutsu that takes 100th of my chakra, I can torture someone for 216 hours in 1 second. Then I would begin the physical torture. First I would cut his eyelids so he would have to watch it. Then I would cut his arms off, first cauterizing the wounds. Then the legs and cauterizing the wound. Next I would cut off his ears. Then I would cut his and then shove it all the way up his ass, but not before putting spikes in it. Next I would take out his eyes. Lastly I would remove his tongue so I could hear his screams the whole time. Everyone was completely green and the girls along with Kiba and Choji had puked. He just smiled, walking towards the door. But that would never happen, so no one has to worry. He walked back into the room and laid down, pulling Hinata onto his chest and smiling. Next day in the preliminary arena, all of the people who had passed were here. They were Team 7, 8, 9, 10, Kabutos, and Suna. Right now the Hokage was giving a speech about what the exams represented that Naruto wasn't paying attention to. He tuned back in when he saw Gecko walk up and start talking. Okay, the board will randomly pick names for the fights. We have an odd number, would anyone be willing to take a second fight? Naruto spoke up, I'll do it. Gecko nodded, first up is. He looked up at the board, Sakura Hirano vs Ino Yamanaka. Same as anime/manga. Okay, next fight is looks at board, Gaara of the Sand vs Kabuto Yakushi. Proctor, I give up. Kabuto said. Very well, winner of second match by forfeit, Gaara of the Sand. Next fight will be, cube board, Naruto vs Rock Lee. Proctor, will I only have to win one match to advance? Gecko nodded yes. Okay, then I forfeit. What, why, we must show our flames of youth. Lee yelled. I know, and we will, but in the next round we will verse, I promise. Okay then Naruto, that is fine. You have the flames of youth. Thanks. Okay then winner of third match by forfeit, Rock Lee. Next match will be, cube board, Neji vs Sai. Both of them walked down and stood apart. Gecko walked between them. Both combatants ready, fight. Gecko jumped out of the way and Sai summoned some ink wolves. Neji could see the weak points and struck them, making the wolves fall into puddles. I have no chance then. Proctor, I forfeit. Sai said. Very well. Winner of fourth match by forfeit, Neji Hyuga. The fifth match will be between, cube board, Hinata Hyuga vs Tenten Higurashi. Hinata, can you perform the rotation? Yes, I can. Tenten. I forfeit. My weapons are useless. Okay. Winner of fifth match by forfeit, Hinata Hyuga. Sixth matches, cube board, Kiba Inuzuka vs Temari of the Sand. Kiba yelled and jumped down and Temari walked down. They stood apart from each other and Gecko walked between them. Ready, fight. He jumped away and Temari swung her fan-sending wind towards Akamaru Fly and hit a wall, knocking him out. I forfeit. Fine. Winner by forfeit, Temari of the Sand. Seventh matches, cube board, Shino Aburame vs Choji Akamichi. They both walked down and stood apart with Gecko in the middle. Ready, fight. Choji instantly went into boulder mode and charged at Shino, who dodged and planted about half his insects on him. He continually dodged until Choji was almost out of chakra, so he thought Choji was out but realized too late he was coming by one more time and got crushed, and Choji ran out of chakra, passing out. Double KO. Naruto grimaced and Shushined down, picking both of them up, taking them to the medics. Take these two. Choji ran out of chakra and Shino has 3 broken ribs, a cracked collarbone, and a fractured femur. The 3 medics responded at the same time. Hi Naruto-sama. They took them away and Naruto went back up and most of the people were confused except Team 8 and the Hokage. Naruto answered their unasked question. I'm the best medic in the village and a registered S-rank medic. Everyone was shocked by this and looked at the Hokage. It is true, Naruto is as good if not better than Tsunade as a medic. They all looked at Naruto, who was leaning against the wall with his eyes closed, and said, What? Something on my face? Gecko spoke up. Anyway, eighth match, cube board, Sasuke Uchiha vs Kankuro of the Sand. Both of them jumped down and Gecko got in between them. Ready, fight. Sasuke rushed Kankuro and punched him, almost breaking his hand, so he jumped away when Kankuro jumped off his puppet's back and his puppet came out. Good luck, Kankuro said. The puppet rushed Sasuke and cut him, and punched him away. This caused the curse to act up. Sasuke decided to hurry up and end it. He went through hand signs and yelled, Fire-style fireball jutsu. The puppet was burnt to a crisp, and once Sasuke was announced victor, Sasuke collapsed because of the seal. Before anyone could move, Naruto was there. Can I have 5 minutes to seal him? The Hokage spoke. Yes, but please hurry. Naruto nodded and pulled out a brush and started drawing seals around Sasuke amazingly fast. The seals looked like foxes circling Sasuke, and Naruto slammed his hands down saying, Sealing arts kitsune restraint. The foxes converged on Sasuke and up his body and started to circle his seal, and suddenly 4 foxes appeared around the seal. Naruto stood up and grinned. Take him away, Kakashi. Kakashi appeared, picking Sasuke up, and disappeared. Shikamaru leaned towards Asuma. How long would that normally take? Asuma thought for a second before saying, I would say for Kakashi, who's the best sealer in the village right now, about 2.5 hours at best. Troublesome. Okay, 9th matches, cube board, Shikamaru Nara vs Yoroi Akato. Shikamaru slowly walked to the arena and Gecko got in between them. He doesn't have any weapons. Shikamaru noted in his head. Begin. Gecko jumped out of the way and Yoroi ran towards Shikamaru, who preformed his shadow possession. Suddenly Yoroi stopped and couldn't move. What the hell? Yoroi yelled. Shadow possession successful. He pulled out a kunai and walked forward, which meant Yoroi did too. When they were face to face, Shikamaru raised the kunai to Yaroi's throat. I forfeit. Yara said. Okay, winner by forfeit, Shikamaru Nara. Final match, Naruto vs Masumi Tsurugi. Masumi jumped down and Naruto shoe-shined and then said, How about a bet? I bet I can beat you before this coat hits the ground. If not, you automatically win. Deal. Naruto smirked. Gecko spoke. Ready, fight. Naruto threw his coat up and seemingly disappeared and appeared behind Masumi. He had his sword and sheath beside each other, and as soon as his coat hit the ground, he clicked his sword in. Masumi was just standing there and everyone was confused. Naruto smirked and walked over to Masumi. He snapped and Masumi fell into pieces. Almost everyone turned green. Naruto just pulled out what looked like a cigarette and a lighter and smoked it. He shushined, grabbing his coat, and then to Hinata. All winners come down. And chose a number out of jar. After everyone lined up and chose numbers? Naruto 1, Hinata 4, Shikamaru 5, Gaara 7, Lee 2, Neji 3, Temari 6. That means Sasuke gets 8. The finals will be held at the arena in 1 month. You may train during this time. They all nodded and everyone left. Fight 1 Naruto vs Lee. Fight 2 Neji vs Hinata. Fight 3 Shikamaru vs Temari. Fight 4 Sasuke vs Gaara. Hokage's office. Naruto, Sarutobi, and Anko had just shushined here and were about to discuss the kidnapping and Anko's seal. Okay, first we need to talk about Kumo, Naruto said. Sarutobi nodded. Yes, now before we discuss anything else, tell me everything that happened. Naruto nodded and began the tale of what had happened before he arrived all the way to the tower. By the end of it, Anko was grinning and even the Hokage had a small smile. Most people don't like rape no matter what. Naruto was grinning evilly. That's everything that happened, and I have all the proof I need since I read one of M's mind. He pulled out his cigarette and a lighter. Is it okay if I smoke in here? Sarutobi nodded. I do it all the time, so sure. Now what are we gonna do about the Raikage? Naruto started thinking for a second. I could always pay him a visit. That might work. I could say I'm sending someone over for a diplomatic mission. When do you want it to happen? I'd prefer it in 2 weeks. Why might I ask? I was gonna ask if I could leave the village for training anyway, and it'll make it easier to find a way to break the cursed seal. That's fine, I don't mind, but why would you need to leave for training? I need to meditate for around a week straight, and there's no way I can do that in the village. Okay, that's fine. But when do you think you'll be back? Probably 3 days before the exams unless I rush. Okay, I'll notify the guards at the gate. You may leave later tonight or tomorrow. Cool. Now Anko, come here please. She walked over to Naruto. What do you need? I need to look at your seal, okay? She nodded and took her coat off and walked over to Naruto for him to look at it. Luckily he is tall so he doesn't have to stretch to look at it. He pulled out a scroll and began drawing the seal onto the scroll. It took him around 5 minutes to finish it. Okay, I'm done. This seal is very crude and obviously not done by a master, so I'll have a counter when I get back easily. Anko turned around and hugged him. Thank you so much. Naruto just smiled and handed her coat to her. It's nothing. I'll be seeing you later, old man. With that, Naruto disappeared in a blue flame. I wish I had the chakra to use it all the time like him. Anko said this with a childish pout that made the Hokage laugh. At the Hyuga compound, Naruto appeared in front of the Hyuga compound, startling the guards. Naruto chuckled at this and walked by. You'd think you two would get used to that. Naruto walked through the front door of the compound. He smelled something, so he walked towards the dining room. He walked in and saw that the main house was eating dinner. Everyone looked up at him, and most of the girls blushed since he had taken off his coat when he walked in, leaving him with nothing over his top half. He chuckled at the glares he was getting from the better half of the men in the room. He walked over to Hinata and Hanabi. He leaned down and kissed Hinata, making her blush. Then he ruffled Hanabi's hair, making her blush and flustered. How's my little firecracker doing? Hanabi tried to straighten her hair. Naruto Niken. Naruto just chuckled and sat in between the two. Most of the people in the room were chuckling at the antics of them too. Naruto spoke up with a grin. I'm glad you all aren't being stuck up right now. He grinned evilly and pointed at the elders. Well, except for them prudes. The elders glared at Naruto, and everyone else just laughed at the elders' frustration. Naruto laughed, and then turned towards Hayashi. I'll be taking care of the events about Hinata that occurred in the forest in around 2 weeks, so don't worry about it. Hayashi grinned because he knew when it came to Hinata, if anything happened to her, hell would be paid. A random female elder spoke up. What are you talking about, demon? A couple of people gasped. None your damn business, hag. The elder glared at him. If anything has happened involving our clan, even if it is with that demon slut. She didn't get to finish because Hayashi was about to do something when Naruto appeared behind her with sword at her throat and a claw at her temple. At some point he had released his fox form, and he had 4 tails waving behind him. Now listen here, hag. You can insult me all you want, but you will not talk about Hinata like that. You got it? She nodded her head furiously, since she couldn't breathe because of the Ki, and Naruto stood up from behind her. He turned towards the other elders. The same goes for you old bats. Okay? They all mimicked the other elder, and Naruto appeared beside Hinata, who was blushing because of Naruto sticking up for her. He sat back down, and was about to seal his demon form when Hanabi tapped him on the shoulder. He looked at her and smiled. What is it, sweetie? Hanabi blushed a little. Can you stay like this, Naruto Niken? Naruto was kind of confused. Yeah? Why? Hanabi blushed harder. I was wondering if you could stay like this when you're at home. Naruto smiled since she was saying this is home too. Sure, sweetie, as long as Hayashi doesn't mind. They both looked at Hayashi, who said I don't mind. Hanabi cheered and grabbed one of his tails, rubbing it. It's so soft. Naruto was now purring because of the rubbing. Most of the women thought this was cute. Naruto used his tails and pulled Hinata and Hanabi near him. He wrapped a tail around each of them. They continued eating for another hour when Naruto noticed Hanabi was asleep and Hinata looked close to it. He scooped Hanabi up and stood up, helping Hinata up. Good night, Hayashi, I'll put these two to bed. Hayashi nodded. Good night. Naruto walked to Hanabi's room first, and pulled the covers back and placed her on the bed. He pulled the covers over her, and kissed her forehead. "Good night, Niken." Naruto smiled. "Good night, sweetie." He walked out of the room with Hinata and took her to her room. He was about to tuck her in like he did with Hanabi, but she pulled his arm. "Please lay down with me. You know I need to leave. Please, just for tonight." He smiled. "Fine, but I need to leave tomorrow." She nodded and smiled, climbing into bed. He took his boots off and climbed in too. She curled up to his side, and he wrapped his tails around her, and pulled the covers up on them. Next day 8 a.m. There were a few voices outside the door to Hinata's room. "Hayashi, we must put the seal on that demon slut." "He is right, Hayashi, we must do this. The demon might take the Byakugan." Naruto heard this and leaned down. "Hina-chan, I need to do something." "Hurry up, damn it, you're warm." Naruto chuckled at her brashness. He climbed out of bed and grabbed his sword, a dagger, and a kunai. He walked to the door and listened. "You will not put a seal on Nei-chan, and Niken isn't a demon." Naruto smirked at Hanabi. He was happy she didn't think he was bad. "She is right, you will not put the seal on my daughter." Naruto grinned again since Hayashi was really a good guy. "We will force it if we must. It's for the good of the clan. We can't let that demon have the Byakugan." Naruto frowned. He decided now was the time to step in. He put the kunai in his mouth and held the dagger and sword in each hand. He kicked the door open and, view switch. Hayashi was frustrated. 3 of the elders had tried to get into Hinata's room for the past 10 minutes to put the seal on her. Hanabi had woken up and come out to argue a few minutes ago, so that wasn't helping. He was happy she was sticking up for Naruto and Hinata though. The 3 elders had all just made some more comments, and he was about to respond when the door to Hinata's room was kicked open from the inside. Naruto appeared in front of the elders looking pissed. He had a sword on the farthest temple, he had a dagger on the second farthest chin, and he had a kunai in his mouth at the middle one's throat. Hayashi was wondering why he was in Hinata's room, but he didn't really care right now since he would end this. Naruto growled around the kunai. "Why in fucking hell are you all yelling out here and waking me up?" All of the elders were sweating. The female spoke up. "We are going to put the seal on the demon slut." Even the other 2 elders thought the same thing. "Stupid bitch." Naruto grinned. "Just what I wanted to hear." He bashed the kunai against her forehead, knocking her out. He pointed at the other 2. "You leave now." They both hurried away. He grinned and picked up the other elder. He turned towards Hayashi. "Looks like I'll have to make an example before I leave." Hayashi was confused. "What?" Naruto grinned evilly. "You'll see. Just call a meeting of the whole clan to meet out in the backyard, okay?" Hayashi was still confused but nodded anyways. Naruto started to walk away. "Oh, and Hayashi." Hayashi looked up. "You wouldn't mind if me and Hinata were to marry in a few years, would you?" Hayashi was shocked. I wouldn't mind, but I do need some sort of reason. You know I don't care about politics and all." Naruto looked at him and grinned. "How about marrying the son of the 4th Hokage and heir to an entire country, and if I play my cards right, heir to the Senju clan?" Hayashi gasped. "I can't believe I never noticed." "Yes, that would be more than enough." Naruto turned back. "I thought so. Have everyone outside around 12, okay?" Hayashi nodded while smiling. 10 minutes later, Naruto had tied the elder up and put her away. He was back in the room with Hinata. He leaned down and kissed her. "Hina-chan, you need to wake up." Hinata rolled and whined before leaning up, rubbing her eyes. She saw Naruto and smiled. "Now go take a shower and I'll go make breakfast." She nodded and got up to go to the bathroom. Naruto smiled and walked out of the room towards the kitchen. He walked in and saw no one, so he grabbed an apron and put it on. He got to work cooking. He planned on cooking for Hinata, Hayashi, and Hanabi. He was cooking for about 15 minutes and was now almost finished. He heard someone walk in and saw Hayashi. "Can you tell Hanabi and Hinata that the food is done?" Hayashi nodded and turned around to go get his daughters. Naruto smiled and looked at the sun. He guessed it was around 9. He finished as soon as everyone walked in 5 minutes later. He started putting food on plates and passing it out. He gave Hayashi and Hanabi a plate each, which they thanked him for. He smiled at Hinata, who was confused at why she didn't get a plate. Naruto grinned and said, "Right about now." As soon as he said now, a timer went off. He turned it off and opened the oven. He pulled out what appeared to be a giant cinnamon bun. He put it on a plate and walked over to Hinata, who was now drooling. He set it down in front of her and kissed her cheek. Hayashi spoke up between bites. "You can cook, Naruto." Naruto chuckled, pulling out a cigarette and lit it. "Thanks, I try." Hanabi jumped up and hugged him. "You're amazing, Niken." He hugged her back. "Thanks, sweetie. Now finish your food." She smiled and went back to her chair. He took off the apron and started walking out of the room. "I need to do a few things. I'll be back in about 2 hours. Hayashi, don't forget about getting everyone outside." Hayashi nodded and Naruto walked out. Hinata was confused. "Why does Naruto-kun want you to get everyone outside?" Hayashi answered, "I don't know, he just said to get both of the houses outside in the backyard around noon." With Naruto in the village, Naruto decided to head to the Hokage's office first. He shoeshined and appeared in the shadows of the office. The Hokage looked up when he walked out of the shadows. "What do you need, Naruto?" "I thought you would have left by now." "I would have, but I need to take care of a few things first." "Okay. What do you need?" "I was wondering if the Uzumakis have a bank account in Konoha." "Actually, they do. Your mother never took the money out before leaving, so it belongs to you." "Cool. How much is in there?" "When you were born there was around 100 million in there, but since it's had 13 years to sit there's no telling. Good. Can I get the codes? Sarutobi nodded and walked over to the picture of Minato on the wall. He moved it to reveal a blood seal. It should be in there but you have to open it. Naruto nodded and bit his finger wiping it across the seal making it vanish. He reached into the hole pulling out a couple of scrolls. Okay cool, I'll see you later old man. With that Naruto's shoe shined away. Naruto appeared in front of the bank. He walked in and saw where he needed to go. He walked over to a female bank teller who blushed when she saw him. He grinned, can you help me, I need to make a withdrawal? She nodded yes. What's the name of the account? Uzumaki. She gasped, that account hasn't been touched in 13 years. Yeah. How much is in it anyways? She pulled out a book, let me check. She looked in the U's and gasped, almost 800 million. Naruto grinned, good. Here's the code. He handed her the code. I want to withdraw 500,000. She nodded and left. She returned a few minutes later with a case. She handed the case to him. He smiled, thanks. Would it be possible to change the name of the account? She nodded yes, but it costs 50,000 to change. He nodded and pulled that much out along with 10,000 extra. Here and keep the rest. She gasped at the 10,000 and tried to give it back. No, keep it. Change the name of the account to Kitsune. She nodded okay and thank you. No problem. He shoe-shined again appearing in front of a jewelry shop. He walked in with the case over his shoulder. He saw the clerk and walked up. Can you help me? He nodded yes. What do you need? Right now I need 9 1-carat diamonds and 6 ounces of 24-carat gold. He gasped and walked to the back and came back with what Naruto needed in a box. That will be 100,000. Naruto opened the case and pulled that much out handing it to the clerk. The clerk checked the amount before handing the box to Naruto. Need anything else? Actually yes. He pulled out a list. I need all of the items on this list within a year if possible. He handed the clerk the list. The clerk looked at the list, and his eyes almost popped out of his skull. 12 ounces of 24-karat gold, 2 of the next things, ruby, sapphire, blue diamond, purple diamond, emerald. The clerk looked up. You realize this will cost about 10 million with shipping cost? Naruto nodded. Yeah, hold on. Be right back. Naruto shoe-shined back to the bank. He shoe-shined back to the jewelry shop about 5 minutes later. He pulled out a case. This is 5 million, I'll pay the rest when I get the items. The clerk nodded looking in the case. Naruto picked up his other case turning and walking out of the store. He shoe-shined back to the compound when he got outside. 11:45 Fuga compound backyard. People were starting to head to the backyard of the compound. When people got outside they noticed an elder tied to a giant wooden X. After a few minutes someone noticed Naruto hovering over everyone working on something. Once it was exactly 12 Naruto slowly floated to the ground holding a small box. He walked up to the front of the crowd smiling. He turned towards the crowd. Thank you all for being here. Now before I begin I must ask Hinata and Hayashi to step forward. Hinata and Hayashi were confused but stepped forward anyway. Naruto walked over to Hinata pulling out the small box. He got on one knee holding out the box. Hina-chan, will you marry me in 3 years' time? He opened the box revealing a beautiful golden ring with a picture of a 9-tailed fox that had a diamond in each tail. Hinata started crying. Yes. She jumped hugging Naruto making him laugh. He took her hand and put the ring on her finger. Next he pulled out a scroll handing it to Hayashi. This scroll is a marriage contract between Hinata and I. It will make me a part of her family and her a part of mine. Will you sign it? Hayashi nodded opening the scroll signing his name on it. He handed it to Naruto who sealed it away. Good, now I can do this with no consequences. He walked up to the elder on the X and pulled out his sword and cut the elder along the forehead. Next he slowly dragged the blade across each of her limbs. He turned to the crowd. This woman did not listen to my warning. I told her I did not care about her insulting me but she would be punished for insulting Hinata. She not only insulted her several times this morning but also threatened her with the caged bird seal. Now she will be an example to all of those who will try to hurt Hinata. He smirked walking back to the elder and cutting her left hand off. Then he punched her in the left thigh shattering her femur. He turned back to the crowd. Now before she dies I think she deserves to see my sword's second form. Hinata gasped since she had always wanted to see it. Now would all of you please back up to the wall? Wouldn't want to harm any of you. Everyone backed up to the farthest wall. He grinned and turned back to the elder. Any last words? The elder just glared and spit at him hitting him in the face. He smiled wiping the spit away. You won't be able to do that when I'm done. He backed up about 10 feet from her and raised Ryujin Jaka above his head. Turn all of creation to ash. Flames started spewing out around Naruto, Ryujin Jaka. Everyone in the crowd couldn't breathe and were on their knees but still were looking at Naruto in awe. Steam was coming off from around him because of how hot it was. The flames suddenly stopped surprising everyone. Naruto smirked. You aren't worthy of dying by Ryujin Jaka. He turned towards Hayashi. How strong is your compound walls? Hayashi thought for a second. Tsunade herself would struggle to crack them. Naruto smirked and walked over to the wall behind the elder. Mind if I test my strength? Hayashi thought for a second. Sure. Naruto smiled and dropped his cloak causing an indent to appear where it dropped. Everyone was surprised by this. Hinata, remember when you asked how strong I was? She nodded. This is my second strongest punch that doesn't use chakra. He closed his eyes and breathed in and out slowly. Suddenly he opened his eyes and slammed his fist forward. Right before he hit the wall he said Akatsu. When his fist hit the wall, everywhere within 10 feet of the fist crumbled. Everyone was gaping like a fish at this. None of them had ever seen someone damage that wall. Naruto smirked and walked over to the elder who was look ready to piss herself. What do you think would happen if I did that with 2 hands? Everyone got to thinking. He did all of that with 1 fucking hand and no chakra. He got right in front of the X. Any last words? She was about to say something when he closed his eyes and started breathing slowly. He brought both of his fists back to right beside his waist and bent his elbows. Then he spread his legs and squatted. He opened his eyes and slammed his fist forward. Right when his fists were about to hit the middle of the X he said, Sakatsu. When he hit her, the X and her instantly snapped in two and went flying into the forest behind the compound, leaving a trail of blood and guts. Everyone was gawking at him. Tsunade was known for rib-breaking punch, but they had never heard of someone literally punching someone in half. He stood up and went over to his coat, picking it up. He walked back over to the crowd who were still frozen. So I can trust no one will touch Hinata while I'm gone. Nearly everyone nodded at the same time. He walked up, picking Hanabi up and twirling her around. I'll see you in a few weeks, okay sweetie? She nodded, okay Niken. He set her down and went over to Hinata and kissed her, making her blush. I'll see you when I get back, okay? She nodded, okay. Come back soon, okay? It's cold without you. He laughed and gave her one more kiss before disappearing. No, he didn't Shushin, he literally just disappeared. 2 weeks later, 1 mile from Kumo, Naruto had finished mastering his sage powers and now only needed to make 6 corpses into the 6 paths. He had also finished the counter to the curse seal the day before. All in all, the past 2 weeks had been very productive. He had passed by a town the day before and heard rumors of 8 Kumo being slaughtered in the Chunin exams and that he had gotten an entry into the bingo book. He had picked up a copy in that town and looked at his section. Konoha's demon, real name unknown, height 5:8, age unsure around 13, weight unsure around 145 pounds, rank A, reason killed 2 Kumo Jounin and 6 Chunin. Noticeable features: hair down to shoulders and dyed bluish-black with orange and red tips. When in demon form he has tails and ears on his head. Caution, don't attack unless multiple Jounin. Bounty 10 million Kumo dead or alive. Now he was on his way to Kumo. He could see the gate now. He wondered how it would go down at the gate. It was a pain to get here. He had to climb miles and miles of a narrow path along the mountain to get up here. He really wanted to jump over the edge just for the hell of it, but that would have to wait. Halt! Who goes there? A random guard yelled. Naruto smirked. Konoha here to discuss with the Raikage. He threw the mission scroll at them. They looked at it and nodded before throwing it back. He took off the straw hat he had worn, shocking the 3 guards. You're Konoha's demon, another guard said. He grinned evilly. So you've heard of me? They all nodded. Suddenly 5 bold agents appeared. One of them stepped forward. We will be escorting you to the Raikage. Naruto nodded and started walking forward. When he got inside he noticed that it didn't look that different from Konoha. The only noticeable differences were that the building were taller and all made of stone. He saw the tower that he assumed was the Raikage's tower. It took them about 10 minutes of walking to reach the tower. When he got there they let him go in by himself. He walked up a few flights of steps and saw a woman with black skin and white hair at a desk doing some paperwork. He walked up and hit the bell on the desk to get her attention. She looked up at him. How may I help you? He smiled. Tell the Raikage that Konoha's demon is here to talk. She gasped and immediately hit a buzzer and said, Raikage-sama, Konoha's demon is here to talk. Suddenly a man, Naruto was pretty sure it was the Raikage, bust through the wall right next to the door. The Raikage looked at him. So you're who they sent to talk about that Hyuga girl? Suddenly Naruto was behind him with his sword on the Raikage's neck. I suggest you not talk about my wife to be in that tone. The Raikage had no idea how this brat got behind him. Okay. Naruto nodded and was back in front of the Raikage. Let's talk in my office. He rushed back and making another hole in the wall. He saw that the secretary was glaring at the Raikage. You want me to fix it for you? The secretary looked at him. You can? He nodded. Yeah, easy. She nodded. Please. Naruto chuckled and went through a couple of hand signs before slamming his hands down. Earth-style stone wall. A wall of stone rose, replacing the broken portion of the wall. The secretary jumped over the desk and hugged Naruto. Thank you? Thank you? Thank you so much. Naruto chuckled and said no problem. He walked through the door and closed it once inside. The office was pretty average with a wooden desk and a chair behind it. There was some weights in the corner of the room. Behind the desk was a big window looking out on the village. The Raikage was sitting at the desk looking at Naruto. You have no proof I ordered those nin to capture that Hyuga. Naruto smiled heavily at that. Actually, I read the mind of that one named Ryza before killing him, so I know everything. The Raikage grimaced. You can't prove anything though. You're completely right. The Raikage grinned. But I can start rampaging and take at least half this village with me. I'd like to see you try. Naruto grinned and released 4 tails of power, releasing his seals and huge amounts of Ki. You think I can't do some damage? The Raikage couldn't believe the power this kid was releasing. It was fucking unreal. Suddenly he felt Naruto behind. And just so you know, this is less than a third my power, and this is how I slaughtered those fools. Naruto appeared back in front of him, Now if you had attacked any other Hyuga I wouldn't be involved, but you attacked my wife-to-be. The Raikage was sweating now and hit a button to call the Jinchuriki. Soon two people busted in through the window. Naruto looked at them. One was a blonde-haired woman who he also noted had the Nibi. The other was a dark-skinned man with a bandana on his head. He noted that he had the Hachibi. Hey Nibi and Hachibi. How's it going? Both of them looked at the kid and were about to say something, while Yujito was gonna rap, when he held up 9 fingers. They both immediately turned to the Raikage. I won't fight him. They both said at the same time. Now the Raikage was screwed. He had scared the Jinchuriki. He looked at Naruto. What do you want? Let's see, how about 5 A rank jutsus and 3 S ranks? The Raikage looked at Yujito and B and they were both nodding furiously. Okay. Do you care what element? Naruto nodded. No, I have complete control of all of them. To prove his point he held up a hand and each finger had a different element. One finger had fire circling it, one had rock covering it, one had a ring of water, one had visible wind circling it, and the last had lightning coming out of it. They were all speechless at that, and the Raikage was glad they didn't fight. Okay. The Raikage reached into his desk pulling out some scrolls. He threw them at Naruto who caught them. There you go, 5 A ranks and 3 S ranks. Naruto looked at them quickly. 2 of the A's were water, 2 were earth, and the other was lightning. The S ranks were each different, one was fire, one was lightning and the last was wind. At the gate, the Raikage and Yujito and B had escorted Naruto to the gate. Naruto looked at the edge of the mountain when a thought came to his head. Has anyone ever tried to jump off the mountain? They all looked at him like he was crazy. The Raikage answered, I don't think so. Naruto grinned, good. See you later. I'll be the first. With that he jumped over the side of the mountain. They ran to the side to look at him. He was falling and doing flips while singing. B spoke up, bro, can I? No, you can't follow him. This sucks. B pouted and walked away. 3 days before exam, Naruto had just finished telling the old man about the mission and was now on his way to the compound. He saw the guards who nodded at him letting him pass. He walked up to the door and walked in. When he got in he saw Hayashi on the ground and Hanabi trying to wake him. He instantly knew what had happened. He walked up to them and started healing Hayashi who woke up soon. Hayashi, was it the elders? Hayashi nodded before passing out again. He told Hanabi to stay there. She did. He went to her room and found it ransacked. He guessed she had taken the necklace and ring off to take a shower, and they ambushed her in the shower. He ran towards the Hyuga council room. He opened the door and saw Hinata naked being held down by 5 elders while the other 3 were drawing the seal. He went berserk. The elders were almost done with seal when they felt suffocating killing intent. The killing intent was felt all over the village. With Hokage, Sarutobi suddenly jumped out of bed. He felt the killing intent. It reminded him of the Kyubis. This worried him not because he was afraid of the Kyubi getting out. No, he was scarred because it was worse than the Kyubis. Enko POV. Enko had headed home when she felt killing intent all around her. She thought her former sensei was attacking her when she realized it felt like Naruto's. Oh fuck. Back at compound, Naruto was pissed about them attacking Hayashi. He was pissed about them taking Hinata. He was pissed they tried to put the seal on her, but what threw him over the edge was seeing her crying. When he saw this he went berserk. He was still conscious enough to make sure Hinata didn't feel any of it. All of the elder instantly passed out and pissed themselves. Naruto had released all 7 tails of his power. Yes, he had gained his 7th tail during the month. He walked up to Hinata and took off his coat, wrapping it around her, and picked her up. He felt Hanabi and Hayashi coming his way, so he made sure they didn't feel his power and Ki. He walked out of the room and saw Hayashi. He walked closer to them. Tie them up. Bring to arena. 3 days. Hayashi nodded and ordered the next few Hyuga who came to do that. She won't live here anymore. Hayashi nodded in understanding. She wasn't safe here. Where will she be? You'll see. Hayashi nodded and they all walked outside. Over half of the village was outside of the compound. No one dared say anything to Naruto. He walked up to Sarutobi. He pointed at a plot of land. How much? It didn't even sound like a question, more like a command. The Hokage didn't say anything since Naruto was barely keeping himself together as it was. 50 million, I believe. Take. Out of account. Kitsune. The Hokage nodded and Naruto was about to walk over when he spotted Sakura. He turned towards her. You wonder if someone rape Hinata. This same. See at exams. Sakura was shaking but managed a nod. Naruto turned to Tenten who was nearby. See sword. 2nd stage. At exams. Maybe final form. Tenten gasped but nodded in response. Naruto walked over to the plot of land he just bought with everyone basically following him. When he got to the edge of the property he turned around and held Hinata out towards Enko. Hold her. Need hands. Enko didn't know why he picked her but didn't argue. Naruto was about to do something when he saw Zabuza and Haku. Not living. At house. Yours. Now. Get stuff. Later. They both nodded and Naruto turned back to plot of hand. He started going through hand signs. No one had ever saw someone do hand signs so fast. After about 200 hand signs he stopped and slammed his hands down. Yin and Yang style creation of all things, a giant stone mansion started rising up in the middle of the land. Once it had full came up, a 10-foot tall black wall came up around the property. Finally 2 giant stone statues with halberds came up on the sides of the main gate. Naruto turned back to Anko holding arms out. Give her. Me. Come here. 2 days. Remove. Curse. Anko smiled at this and handed him Hinata. He took her and turned towards the Hokage. Anyone bothers me or her. 4. Next 3 days. Die. Sarutobi understood and nodded his head. Naruto turned to Hayashi and Hanabi. Get her stuff. Later. Visit anytime. After exams. Firecracker. Hanabi smiled at her nickname, and they both nodded. Naruto turned back and walked towards the gate. He was almost all the way through the gates. He turned back. Anyone comes near here. Die slowly and painfully. He walked through the gate, and it closed, and the statues crossed their halberds over the gate. That went better than expected. The Hokage said. Why do you say that? Guess who? The Hokage wiped his forehead. If he wanted to, he could have killed all of us. Everyone who heard this gasped but didn't say anything else. Inside new house. When creating the house, he had made the master bedroom with a bed that had pillows, sheets, and covers. H walked into the bedroom and laid Hinata down on the bed and got to work healing her. She had several bruises and a couple of broken bones. She still had her panties on, but that's all. About halfway through she woke up. Naruto-kun? He smiled and kissed her softly. Yes, I'm here, don't worry, everything's fine. Hinata started looking around. Where are we? Remember when I showed you yin-yang style? She nodded. I used it to create a new compound. She gasped. You said making things takes a lot of chakra? Shouldn't you rest? He smiled at her concern. I admit I only have about 5% of my chakra, but that's enough to heal you. She nodded, but she was still concerned. 95% of his chakra was about all the people in 2 ninja villages. She couldn't remember him ever being that low. Okay. But as soon as you're done, you're resting. He nodded, knowing he couldn't argue with her. It took about 15 minutes to completely heal her. He reached into his coat and unsealed the only shirt he had with him and gave it to her. She put it on while he took his boots off. After that they both slid into the bed and almost instantly fell asleep with Naruto on his side and Hinata curled up to his chest. He forgot to seal his tails, so they wrapped around her. 3 days later, exam stadium. The Hokage was ready to call everyone to attention. He stood up and walked to the edge of the booth. Attention everyone. Everyone was quiet instantly. This made the Hokage smirk, since he still had it. Naruto and some others would like to make some announcements. As soon as he said this, 4 people shoe-shined into the arena. The first shoe-shined in a bright lavender flash, revealing Hinata. The second one shoe-shined in what appeared to be blood, revealing Zabuza. The third appeared in an ice sculpture that shattered, revealing Haku. The last appeared in a giant pile of snakes, revealing Anko. Zabuza smirked and stepped forward, pulling out an ornate serrated dagger with a picture of a fox on it. He threw it up in the air about 200 feet. Everyone looked up at the dagger in anticipation. Suddenly it appeared as if Naruto came out of a black hole and grabbed the kunai before throwing it at the Kage booth, and right before it would have gone over the edge towards them, he appeared again on the edge holding a kunai. This did serve a purpose, since the Tsukage had decided to visit for the exams even if none of his ninja had made it. Everyone was confused at what he was doing. Naruto spoke up. Maybe this will jog your memory? He threw the kunai at the center of the arena and suddenly appeared in a yellow flash. Anyone over the age of 20 at this point gasped. The Tsukage almost blew a gasket. Minato had a son? Naruto smiled. Yes, I am the son of your hero Konoha's yellow flash. Better known as the 4th Hokage. At this everyone gasped, but Naruto wasn't done. But I've improved this boring jutsu. Everyone was confused when he threw down the dagger right in front of him and disappeared. This confused everyone. He appeared in front of the Kages. I can go anywhere within 500 yards of the seal. With that he disappeared again, reappearing beside the dagger. Now that everyone was fairly mind-fucked, he spoke. Haku, Zabuza, Hina-chan, go ahead and head up. They all nodded and disappeared in a shushin. He walked over to Anko. They had decided to remove the seal at the exams to mess with people. I'm sure most of you know the seal Anko here has. A seal placed on her by her former sensei Orochimaru. Also the reason a lot of you think she'll betray you like her former sensei did. Jiraiya of the Sannin, Sharingan Kakashi, and Sarutobi the professor, just to name some, have tried to remove this seal and failed. With that, Naruto reached out and touched her seal, pushing some chakra into the seal. After about 30 seconds the seal disappeared. He turned back to the crowd. Yet none of them simply tried to push enough chakra into it to kill the piece of soul Orochimaru had placed inside. The 2 of the 3 named people were gawking and face-palming, thinking the same thing. Stupid, stupid, stupid. After Anko hugged and thanked him and he told her to go on up, he snapped his fingers, so some Hyuga members brought in the 8 elders. All of them were bound and gagged. He smirked at them. Before I left the village a month ago, I told the entire Hyuga clan to not harm Hinata, and I made an example of one of them who had not listened to me previously. But when I come back I found Hayashi knocked out, and when I go to the council chamber of the Hyugas I found them trying to place the curse seal on her. It took all of my self-control to not slaughter them. I've decided to show you all what happens when you harm those I care about. But first a demonstration of strength. Tenzo. Suddenly an Umbu appeared in front of Naruto. Tenzo, I am aware that you are the current Umbu captain and have the wood style. Am I correct? Tenzo looked up at the Hokage, who nodded. He looked back at Naruto. Hi. Naruto smirked. Good. Now how strong do you think your toughest wood style defense is? I do not like to gloat, but I believe nothing less than an S-rank jutsu would break it. Naruto grinned. Good. Please use this, would you? Tenzo again looked at the Hokage, who nodded. He turned back and started going through hand signs. After around 50 he slammed his hands down. Wood style 4 wooden Gordians defense. 4 wooden statues rose out of the ground before backing together, and slamming their shields down, making a giant wooden box. Now Tenzo was breathing fairly hard. Thank you, Tenzo. Now, old man, would you help me demonstrate something? Most of the people didn't know who he was talking about, so many of them went bug-eyed at seeing the Hokage's Shushin down. Thank you. Now would you be so kind as to try to break this with your strongest A-rank earth jutsu? Satobi was confused but decided to humor him, and went through 12 hand signs before breathing in. Earth-style earth spears. Sarutobi stomped, making a spear pop out of the ground, throwing it at the Gordian in front of him. He did this to the other 3, causing dirt to go flying. When the dirt cleared, all there was on each Gordian was a few scratches and cracks. Good. Just what I expected. He walked over to the Gordians. Let's see what I can do. He took off his coat, causing the ground to spiderweb. Now all Hyugas watch closely, because I won't be using any chakra. Almost everyone thought he was lying, and the Hyugas activated their Byukugans. Naruto put one leg back and one forward. He pulled his hand back, releasing his claws. After he had calmed, he opened his eyes and clawed his hand forward. Right when his claws touched the wood, he said, Kitsunishi. Long cracks went up and down the statue, but it didn't break. He went over to in front of the next statue. He got in the same stance but brought his hands to shoulder level and faced his palms to the statue. He slammed them forward and called out, Surikano Haira. When his palms hit the statue, a giant crater formed for a god 10 feet from his palms, but again it stood strong. Naruto moved on to the third one and getting into the Ikatsu stance. Naruto opened his eyes and slammed his fist forward, saying, Ikatsu. From the spot he hit the statue spiderweb about 8 feet out and looked ready to crumble but still stood. He went to the last one and got into the Sakatsu stance. Naruto opened his eyes and slammed both fists forward, yelling, Sakatsu. The statue spiderweb and caused the other statues to from the force, and suddenly the giant statue collapsed. Everyone turned towards the Hyuga for confirmation. Every Hyuga nodded their head in confirmation. That made think almost the same thing. What could he do with chakra? Naruto smirked and walked over to the bound Hyugas. Thank you for the help, you two can go back up. The Hokage and Tenzo both shushined away. Naruto turned to the crowd. Now on to the example of what happens if you harm my Heim. He unsealed a cross, hammer and big nails, and a gallon of kerosene. He picked the cross up and slammed it into the ground. Then he picked up the Hyuga nearest him and nailed each of his hands into the cross. Then he poured the kerosene all over him and the cross. He walked a little ways away and pulled a lighter out. This is what I received on my 4th birthday. He threw the lighter at the cross, igniting it. I had just been kicked out of the orphanage. Most of the people in crowd couldn't believe a 4-year-old could live through that. A couple of people were crying now. Naruto walked over to the next elder and unsealed a metal table, pliers, and rope. He picked up the elder and tied her to the table. This is what happened the day I met the people at Ichiraku. They were so nice. He walked over to the table and started pulling the woman's teeth out. Everyone cringed at this. Naruto turned back to the crowd. As they did this, I watched them beat up and cut old man Tuchi, and they raped his daughter Ayam. He turned back around. She was only 12. Everyone gasped at this. Naruto walked up to the woman and smashed her head into the table, killing her. He turned back to the crowd. I don't know what happened to them. I believe the Hokage had them taken to another village. The Hokage gasped at Naruto, showing signs of respect for him. That's why I eat ramen so much. I eat it in memory of the people who were first nice to me. Naruto walked over to the next elder. He unsealed another table, some more rope, and a scalpel. He placed the elder on the table and bound him. He turned to the crowd. This is what happened the day they killed my pet fox I had found a month before. He turned back to the table. He walked up to the table and grabbed the scalpel. They killed the little fox in front of me. He carved on the man's chest. Then they held me down and carved words into my chest, back, arms, and legs. He continued carving into the man. It wasn't nearly this quick though. He turned back to them. They carved into me for hours because of my healing. Naruto dropped his cloak and rolled his pants up. He said, release. Words appeared carved into the flesh of his chest, legs, arms, and back when he turned. They said demon, monster, beast, QB, and so on and so forth. Naruto put his cloak back on and walked over to the elder. He looked at the man and slammed his hand into his chest, killing him. Naruto walked up to the next elder. He unsealed a chair and some rope. He put the elder in the chair and tied him to it. Naruto turned back to the crowd. For the last month I was at the orphanage. They would beat me nearly every night. The woman there and some of the kids would join in sometimes. Naruto turned back and stomped on his right foot, crushing all of the bones in it, smiling at the man's screams. The worst night was 2 days before they kicked me out. Naruto chopped at the man's forearm, snapping it like a twig. A week before I had stuck up for this shy little girl who was being picked on. Naruto reached down, grabbing his right hand, and crushed it. She tried to make the adults and the kids attacking me stop. Next, Naruto grabbed the man's shoulder and squeezed, snapping his collarbones. Naruto turned back to the crowd. The women who took care of us told the children to attack her. They did. I like to think she died quickly, but her voice was so quiet I don't know. That night was the last night I showed any emotion when hurt. Who am I to cry about being hurt when Hazuchan died trying to help me? Naruto turned back to the man. He walked up and kicked him in the head, making his head go flying and splatter against the wall. By now nearly every woman in the crowd was crying and about half of the guys. Naruto walked over to the fifth elder. He unsealed a wooded table and big nails. Naruto picked the elder up and put him on the table. He took the nails and slm immediately into his hands so he couldn't move. Next he started at the knee and worked his way down, breaking every bone in his legs and feet. This is the worst night in my entire life. It happened 1 week before I met Q-chan, and I almost cried out in pain and agony for the first time in a year. I met Irika exactly 1 week before, and he had treated me like a brother. A group of 5 Chunin ambushed when we were going to eat. They did the same thing to both of us, and not the end. I just wanted to say, if you want to leave now I won't blame you. I almost didn't write this. Almost. Naruto turned back to the elder and punched all of his teeth out. Next he made a chakra blade and cut off his pants, and cut off his but not touching his balls. They punched all of our teeth out. They raped us in our mouths and ass for hours. Naruto reached down and grabbed the elder on both sides of his face. The worst part of it though is that when they left I couldn't stand hearing Irika moaning in pain. Naruto suddenly snapped the man's neck completely around. I crawled over to him saying I was sorry over and snapped his neck, ending his misery. Naruto turned back to the crowd. It's funny really. His last words to me were, Naruto, try to find it in your heart to forgive the villagers. They're just sad about their dead loved ones. Naruto walked over to the last 3 and looked at the woman to his right. He turned back to the crowd. I was pissed when I saw you trying to seal Hinata. I was furious when I saw her crying. But Hina-chan had almost convinced me to let these elders live. He grinned heavily at the woman to his left now. I said almost. Very late at night I was awoken by my Heim crying, having a nightmare. After I woke her and calmed her down she told me what it was about. I almost unleashed Q-chan right when she told me. These 2 old bitches behind me told my Heim that when they were done sealing her they would make sure she would never be able to have the demon's child. By now I had released 4 tails and everyone in the arena was having a hard time breathing. I have decided to make an example of these 3. Naruto went through nearly 40 hand signs before slamming his hands down. Bringer of darkness. The older people in the crowd gasped at him using a jutsu of the second Hokage. A giant sphere of black covered from Naruto for 200 yards out. The jutsu finally came down slightly, revealing the first woman. Her feet were nailed into the ground and her back was facing them, but her head was turned completely around. 2 other things were wrong. Firstly, she was missing her eyes, and second was along her back "See No Evil" was carved into the skin. After 5 minutes the jutsu came down some more, revealing the man of the 3. He was nailed to the ground too, but he was nailed just below the knees, so he was on his knees. He was holding his ears and blood was pouring down his arms. Along his arms here "No Evil" was carved into the skin. Naruto stepped forward. Let this serve as a reminder. You create your own demons. If anything happens to Hinata, then I, a monster of all of your creation, will kill each and every one of you slowly. After that Naruto looked up at Tenten and grinned. Now, I believe I promised a showcase of Ryujin Jaka. Immediately all the Hyugas started sweating. Naruto unsheathed his sword and raised her in the air. Turn all of creation to ash. Ryujin Jaka. Flames started spewing from the blade and started burning everything down in the arena. Everyone in the stands couldn't even sweat because the water was evaporating. Once the flames died down, everything, but Naruto, in the arena was nothing more than dust in the wind. Naruto sheathed his blade and looked up at the people in the stands. Now let the exams begin. Chunin Exams Finals Arena. Naruto had just announced the beginning of the finals and Genma had just came down to proctor for the exams. Rock Lee, please come down to the arena. Lee heard this and quickly jumped down to the arena. Naruto and Lee were about 20 feet from each other. Genma got in between the 2 and raised his arm. He looked at both of them for confirmation. They both nodded. He threw his arm down and yelled, "Fight!" Lee quickly dashed at Naruto faster than most of the Genins and some of the Chunins could see. Lee tried to kick Naruto, but he simply dodged it. Lee continued to attack Naruto furiously, but as soon as he saw an opening, Naruto kneed Lee in the gut, making Lee skid several yards away. Lee, you better take your weights off or this will be over very quickly. Lee looked up at Guy for approval. Guy gave him the go-ahead and Lee took off his weights on his legs, confusing quite a few people. Lee threw them up, attracting everyone's attention. When they hit the ground, a crater formed about 20 feet in diameter and 3 feet deep in the center. Lee vanished from nearly every genin and most of the Chunin's sight, and reappeared beside Naruto, and threw a hard punch at Naruto's head. Naruto lazily caught the punch and was pushed into the ground several inches, shocking everyone because he did it effortlessly. Naruto backhanded Lee, making him fly back again. Go ahead and do the primary lotus on me. I'll let you. Everyone in the arena that knew of the lotus was shocked for 2 reasons. Firstly, that a genin could perform it, and that someone would actually let that be preformed on them. Everyone else was just confused. Lee again looked up at Guy, who nodded solemnly. Lee began unwrapping his bandages. When they were unwrapped, he got into his fighting stance. As you wish, Naruto-san. Lee quickly appeared in front of Naruto, kicking him upwards into the air. He appeared behind Naruto and wrapped the bandages around him. They spiraled towards the ground from 50 feet in the air. Right when they were about to hit the ground, Lee yelled, "Primary Lotus!" Lee jumped out of the way at the last moment, and Naruto was slammed into the ground. Everyone was looking at Naruto, who was in a crater with him buried from the neck up. His body was moving around and finally he popped his head out. That was pretty good, Lee. You've almost perfected the Primary Lotus. Everyone was astonished that he didn't even look vaguely hurt by that attack. You should go into the third gate, Lee, if you want me to take my cloak off. Lee didn't even look at Guy this time. He went from the first gate to second and quickly to third. Lee vanished from all the Genin's eyes except for Naruto and nearly all the Chunins. He appeared in front of Naruto and punched at Naruto's chest, but Naruto caught it and tried to kick Lee in the side. But Lee caught it and tried to slam his elbow down on the captured leg. Naruto jerked his leg away but was kicked in the side by Lee, making him skid away. Naruto chuckled and shrugged off his cloak. Looks like I can take it off now. Mind if I give this to somebody to hold? Lee nodded and Naruto disappeared, reappearing behind Hinata. He wrapped the cloak around her shoulders and kissed her cheek. Thanks for holding this for me, babe. With that he vanished, leaving behind a flushed Hinata. Naruto reappeared where his was previously. The only people who saw him move was Kakashi, Guy, Sarutobi, the Kage, and Lee, since it was only a little faster than him currently. Round 2. Naruto and Lee flashed from view. Most of the people only saw where their hits connected because it caused shock waves and craters to form. This continued for around 3 minutes. Lee and Naruto both appeared back in their spots. They both only had a couple of bruises and Naruto's were healing already. Lee, how many gates can you go to? 5, Naruto-san. Everyone that knew of the gates was gawking since almost nobody could go to the first gate. But this boy could go to 5 and he had no chakra. Good, go to the 5th gate. As you wish. Lee started to concentrate on going into the gates. Suddenly a burst of energy came out of him and a small crater formed. Gate of Life. Open. Lee wasn't done though. Suddenly another pulse of more energy and the crater under Lee got larger and he now had a faint blue aura. Gate of Wound. Open. As you wished, Naruto-san. I am at my highest gate. Naruto chuckled and started clapping. You are a fine shinobi, Lee. To get that many gates at such a young age with willpower alone is incredible. I think you deserve a reward. Thank you, Naruto-san, but what do you mean a reward? Suddenly seals appeared all over Naruto's body. Naruto turned a circle to show everybody. There was a large array of seals. There was a small seal on every vertebrate, and every joint along his arms, shoulders, and seemed to continue down past his pants, so probably along his legs too. They all went to one large seal in the center of his chest that had a kanji for lock in the center. 3 people went bug-eyed in the crowd because they could tell what that was. They were Jiraiya, who was hidden, Kakashi, and Sarutobi. These are seals all along my body, Lee. Among them are muscle restraint seals, chakra restraints, joint restraints, weights, and chakra storage seals. A few of them open when I go beyond 2 tails, but not usually all of them unless I want to. I am going to show what it is like when I am human, and have these all off, and I'll show you my best human fighting stance. Everyone paid close attention to Naruto as he reached up and turned the seal on his chest. He slowly turned it, and the ground beneath him started spiderwebbing. As he turned it, he started releasing chakra, also it sounded like a lock turning. When he finally finished turning it, it said unlock instead of lock. Now everyone noticed something else. The seals were designed like a tattoo. On his back it looked like a 9-tailed fox with glowing eyes and body, but the tails were dim. Along his arms the seals spelled out Kyubi, and on the other Hinata. Everyone was gasping at how much chakra Naruto was releasing. The crazy part was that this was all his normal chakra. How much chakra do you have? I have more chakra than the Sanbai but less than the Yambi. Everyone was astonished that someone could have that much chakra. It's all part of being an Uzumaki. I have never heard of the Uzumaki clan before. That's funny because the leaf symbol is in memory of them. Let me give you a history lesson. Everyone was listening intently to whatever Naruto had to say. Around 1,000 years ago, a man you all know as the Sage of the 6 Paths sealed the Jubi inside himself, and sealed the body in what we know as the moon. He lived many years before. As he lay on his deathbed, he separated the Jubi into 9 entities. We know these now as the 9 Bijus. Before he died, he gave his 2 sons something. The younger son, he gave him his bodily strength and physical energy. To his elder son, he gave him a variation of his eyes. He chose his younger son to be his successor. This caused the hatred from the elder son and their families to fight for years to come. We now know these 2 clans as the Uchiha and the Senju. Now this is known by quite a few people. What most people don't know is that the Sage of 6 Paths had a name. His name was Uzumaki. Another thing that is not commonly known is that he had a daughter who he had continued the Uzumaki line. The Uzumakis were gifted with the Sage's long lifespan, amount of chakra, knowledge of sealing, and the possibility to unlock the Sage's Dijutsu the Rinnegan. Everyone was shocked to hear all that. Quite a few people looked down in sadness because they knew what happened to the Uzumakis. The Uzumakis lived in peace on the island of Whirlpool for nearly 1,000 years. Part of the clan actually helped build the Hidden Leaf, and Uzumaki Mito married Hashirama Senju, who just so happened to be the first Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox. They were fine until about 20 years ago. At the time of the Third Great Ninja War, the Rock Cloud and Mist Village all decided that they were a threat and needed to be taken out. While the Leaf was distracted by a fight with part of Rock's army, the other half of it, and Kumo's and Mist's attacked Whirlpool. They had an army of over 10,000 strong. Whirlpool at the time had a little under 1,000 members. You would think that it would have been a slaughter. Right. Wrong. This is why I don't really blame those villages. An average Uzumaki had large enough reserves to perform 5 S-rank jutsus, and still fight at an average Jonin level. The siege of Whirlpool took over 3 days, and when it was over, the opposing army now had a little less than 1,500 people, and only 800 not injured severely. So was Whirlpool a threat? Yes, there were demons on the battlefield. Again, everyone was shocked to hear this. Almost none of them had heard any of that before, and none of them had heard all of it. So you see, the only reason the Leaf didn't lose that war was because Whirlpool was taken down, but for everyone they lost, they took at least 5 others. Now I don't blame Leaf either, because they didn't know what was going on until it was far too late. This is why you were the symbol of the Uzumaki, because they saved this village by giving themselves up. Now on to the Rinnegan. When the sage let Uzumakis have the possibility of getting it, he made it so that anybody with Uchiha, Senju, and Uzumaki blood within the last 5 generations could have it. You all know who my parents are. Minato Namikaze, Konoha's Yellow Flash, and Kushina Uzumaki, the Bloody Habanero. What you don't know is their ancestors. Minato Namikaze is the secret grandson of Hashirama Senju and Mito Uzumaki. His parents had him rather late in life. His mother died during childbirth, and the father was reminded of his late wife, so he said that Minato died during childbirth too and put him in the orphanage. So my father, Minato Namikaze, is Tsunade Senju's brother. Now everybody's head hurt from this information they were getting. Now my mother, Kushina Uzumaki, has an even more interesting history. My mother was conceived through rape. Madara Uchiha raped my grandmother and impregnated her. This is possible because of the Uzumaki lifespan and Madara's eternal Manjiki Sharingan, which gave him an equal lifespan. When my mother was 7, she was sent to the Leaf Village to become the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Later on in life, my mom and dad had me. Let's recap, shall we? My grandparents on my father's side were full-blood Senju and full-blood Namikaze, and my grandparents on my mother's side were full-blood Uzumaki and full-blood Uchiha. So I am half Senju, a quarter Uchiha, and a quarter Uzumaki. So that makes me heir to 4 clans, the Senju, Uchiha, Uzumaki, and the Namikaze. Also that would mean I can have the mythical Rinnegan. Everyone looked at Naruto's eyes, and they were now purple with a black pulse coming out of the pupil. Now my rant is over, let's continue. Lee nodded and they both went back to fighting. It was almost even, but Naruto was a little faster and stronger. They both appeared a little ways from each other. Sorry Lee, but I'm ending this. Before Naruto could do anything, Lee fell over unconscious. Everyone in the crowd's sweat dropped at the anticlimactic ending. Genma appeared back on the field. Winner of the first match, Naruto. Everyone in the crowd cheered except for a certain few. Naruto picked Lee up and carried him to the medics. He had severe muscle strain and a couple of broken ribs. I will be there soon to heal him. Soon, get everything ready. They all nodded and said, "Hi, Naruto-sama." Naruto disappeared and reappeared behind Hinata. He wrapped her in a hug. I know you'll do great in your next match. I'll try to heal Lee as quick as possible. You can wear my cloak for good luck. She nodded and Naruto kissed her before shining away. Would Hinata Hyuga and Neji Hyuga please come down? Both Hinata and Neji walked down to the arena and got into the Juken stance. Hinata's was slightly modified for her flexibility. You should give up. It is fate for me to win this fight. I am sorry for everything, Neji, but your father dying was not my fault. Genma got in between them with his arm raised. Fight. Neji and Hinata both dashed at each other. Their hands were a flurry of strikes and palms. Both were doing well. Hinata wasn't quite as good as Neji, but her flexibility more than made up for it. This continued for more than 5 minutes. Eventually Hinata's flexibility let her pass through Neji's guard, and when she was about to juken him in the neck, she stopped and walked away. I cannot hurt you, cousin. Proctor, I forfeit. Everyone was surprised at this. Hinata was walking away when Neji suddenly became furious and charged at her and struck her heart from the back. He was about to strike again when he suddenly found it hard to breathe. View switch. Naruto was walking out of the medic bay. Lee would be fine in a few days and was now resting. He wanted to see how Hinata was doing, so he walked over to the opening for the medics to go to the arena. Right before he got there, he heard Hinata say she forfeited, which confused him. When he made it to the opening, he saw Neji strike Hinata in the heart and saw him about to go for another strike. Naruto hadn't resealed his seals and instantly released all 7 tails. He seemingly appeared with his hand wrapped around Neji's throat. Naruto felt the medics at the tunnel. Check Hinata. They all listened to him and ran over to her. Naruto threw Neji at a wall. He was there instantly again, holding his throat. Why? She is a demon slut and responsible for my father's death. Naruto nodded his head in denial. You will pay later. With that, Neji passed out from the KI. Naruto vanished with Neji appearing back at the medics. One of them stood up and looked at him in fear. I am sorry, Taicho. She is dead. Her heart stopped. Naruto nodded his head again in denial. He handed Neji to the medic. Take him. All of you leave. I fix. They were all confused but left anyway, not wanting to anger him further. Naruto got on his knees and stroked Hinata's cheek and grinned, which looked strange in his current form. He pointed a tail at a different part of her body. One at each temple, one at the heart, and one at each limb. Naruto raised one hand to his side pointing at the ground. King of Hell. Come forth. Slowly a demonic statue with razor teeth came out of the ground. Naruto looked at it, and a few people swore it shivered. Hinata Hyuga. Soul. Now, the statue seemed to chew before spitting out an astral figure. Naruto grabbed it and placed it into Hinata. Suddenly Hinata gasped and tried to lean up, but Naruto stopped her. Don't, Hina-chan. Rest for now. Everything will be okay, I promise. She nodded and Naruto picked her up. Naruto disappeared and reappeared next to the Sarutobi. I'm taking her home. If I'm not fighting Neji when I get back, I'll kill whoever is. Sarutobi nodded and Oinoki the Tsukage snorted. What's the big deal? She's just a stupid girl. Naruto released all of his ki at Oinoki. If you ever speak like that again, I will personally visit the rock village with thousands of those special kunai you all love. Oinoki shivered and Naruto disappeared, going home to lay Hinata down. Sarutobi looked at Oinoki. You are very lucky he had Hinata in his arms, or he would have killed you. Sarutobi walked over to the edge of the Kage box. Attention everyone. Naruto and Neji Hyuga will be fighting in 5 minutes' time. No one argued and Neji, who had just left the medical bay, walked out onto the field. Almost exactly 5 minutes later Naruto appeared across from Neji. You are lucky. Hinata made me promise to not kill you. Genma got in between the two. He looked at Neji with slight sympathy. Fight. Genma jumped out of the way, but both Naruto and Neji just stood there. Go ahead, do the 64 palms, Neji. I'll let you. Why? I want to show how worthless you are. Neji charged at Naruto and began performing the 64 palms technique on Naruto. Nobody noticed, but Naruto started shaking rapidly beforehand. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms, 64 palms. Neji finished and hopped away. Naruto was just standing there looking bored. How simple, really. I shook my body rapidly, making it impossible to hit my chakra points. Naruto raised his hand and pointed one finger at Neji. Lightning-style electric bolt. Neji quickly did a rotation to counter the jutsu. While he was spinning, Naruto ran up and simply walked through the rotation and grabbed Neji by the throat. Again, it was simple. All I did was cover my body in a thin layer of chakra, and that countered the rotation. To counter all of your moves is so simple. To completely leave you helpless, I only need blind you. Without your eyes, you are worthless. With that, Naruto knocked Neji out and threw him on the ground. Everyone was stunned that Naruto could counter the Hyuga's most prized moves so easily. Naruto quickly disappeared and reappeared next to the Kazekage. He leaned over to whisper into the Kage's ear. I know that's you, Orochimaru. You better not start the invasion until the final match is finished. With that, Naruto disappeared again, going to the competitor's booth. The next match was Temari against Shikamaru. Same as anime/manga. Would Gaara of the Sand and Sasuke Uchiha come down to the arena? Gaara appeared in a shushin and Sasuke jumped down into the arena. Genma got in between the two with his arm raised. Fight. Sasuke ran at Gaara quickly. He was almost as fast as Lee with his weights on. This wasn't near fast enough to get through Gaara's defense though. I guess I'll have to use my new jutsu. Sasuke jumped up to near the top of the arena wall and charged up his technique. Everyone that recognized it gasped. Several people were about to say something when Naruto appeared behind Kakashi and slapped him on the back of the head. You retarded one-eyed fucker. What the hell were you thinking, teaching the fucking most power-hungry person in the village an assassination technique? By now Sasuke was charging at Gaara with the Chidori. Gaara saw this and just created a wall of sand in front of him. Sasuke smacked into it and was captured in the sand coffin technique. Right when everyone was about to stop Gaara from crushing Sasuke, Naruto was directly beside Gaara, facing the opposite direction with his sword on Gaara's throat. I don't recommend doing that. You'll be dead as soon as he is. Wouldn't you rather fight me in the finals? Gaara released Sasuke and walked away. Genma announced Gaara as the winner, and the medics took Sasuke away. The next fight was to be between Temari and Gaara, but she gave up because she didn't have much chakra left, and she didn't want to fight her little brother. Genma announced a 30-minute break before the finals. Naruto left to check on Hinata. Everyone else just sat around and talked while Gaara went to the field and waited. 30 minutes later Naruto appeared in the center of the field. Genma got in between the two and raised his hand. Fight. At first Naruto and Gaara just looked at each other. This went on for 2 minutes before Naruto raised his hand and pointed a finger at Gaara. Lightning-style electric bolt. A bolt of electricity quickly flew at Gaara, but he was able to stop it fairly easily with his sand. It did turn the place where it hit to glass though. Naruto looked up at Kakashi and Sasuke, who was back now since he wasn't really hurt. Your technique is easier when you have the strength to put behind it. With that, Naruto reached up and unlocked his seals again. He disappeared and reappeared with his hand in Gaara's shoulder. Gaara screamed bloody murder. Mother! Is this my blood? Mother! Sand started coming up and wrapping around one of his legs and one arm. Monster Shikaka state. Everyone in the arena gasped at Gaara's new form. Naruto just clicked his tongue. Fuck. The monster Gaara rushed at Naruto and tried to stab him, but Naruto was far too fast for that. Naruto pulled out his sword and cut off the sand arm. It seemed to work for a second before the sand went back, reforming the arm. Naruto sheathed his sword and disappeared, trying to knock Gaara out. He appeared behind Gaara and clocked him a god one to the back of the head. Gaara went flying into the stadium wall. Soon after Gaara hit the wall, everyone could hear demonic-sounding laughter. Yes. Yes. I can finally come out. Let's play. Gaara started turning into the full-formed Shikaku and everyone was worried now except one person. Motherfucker. Why can't I have one fucking normal fight? For Kami's fucking sake. Q-Song manifest impossible. Naruto released 3 of his tails, while he was still cursing up a storm. A few Jonin were about to jump in and try and help Naruto. They stopped when Naruto glared into the stands. If anybody fucking tries to stop this match, I'll fucking torture and kill you. Personally, everyone decided to not interfere with the match after that threat. Naruto raised his arm and pointed at Shikaku. You want to fight, let's fight. With that, Naruto disappeared and smashed into the Shikaku's chest, making him skid back several yards. If only a few people could see him before now, he was a blur to the most trained eyes. Shikaku looked at Naruto and started laughing. Great. Someone to fight. Now let us fight. Shikaku launched several air bullets at Naruto, who just raised his hand and covered it in wind chakra. The bullets were cut in half and passed by Naruto, mostly just stirring dust up behind him. You'll have to do much better than that to beat me. Shikaku started shooting wind bullets at seemingly random places. Naruto noticed he was shooting at the crowd and quickly moved. He pulled out his sword and started cutting through the wind bullets. This went on for a minute before Shikaku stopped. Naruto looked at Shikaku and pointed his sword. Naruto jumped down to the ground and went through a few hand signs. He slammed his hands down and yelled. Earth-style demonic chains. Gigantic chains made of rock came out of the ground, restraining Shikaku for a little time. Naruto knew it wouldn't last very long. Naruto raised one hand in the air and had his tails focus around his hand. A Rasengan formed in his hand and then it expanded to the shape of a shuriken and made a screeching noise. This is wind-style Rasen Shuriken, one of my strongest moves. I'm not finished though. Suddenly one of his tails burst into flames and started channeling fire chakra into the jutsu. Then the second tail started crackling with electricity and channeled lightning chakra into the jutsu. Finally the third tail was covered with swirling water and channeled water chakra into it. What nobody knew was that Naruto was channeling a good amount of Yukai with a fourth tail that had appeared. Naruto looked at the Hokage and yelled loud enough for him to hear. There's only woods behind Shikaku, right? Naruto smiled when he saw Sarutobi nod his head in confirmation. Suddenly the whirling mass of chakras and Yukai started shrinking and before long was the size of Naruto's fist. Naruto looked at Shikaku and smiled evilly. I love this fucking move. Elemental Bijou Ball. Naruto suddenly looked at the chakra before putting it into his mouth and swallowing it. When he did this, a couple of people swore they saw Shikaku start sweating. Also Sarutobi visibly paled at this, since he knew what this move was. Naruto's stomach and chest suddenly expanded several times larger. Naruto opened his mouth and shot out a ray of condensed chakra. When contacted Shikaku, it expanded to cover his whole body except for where Gaara was. To everyone in the stands, Shikaku blew up in an array of several colors. Blue, green, red, black, and yellow to be exact. When the blast finally dies down, all that was left was Gaara in a large pile of sand. Naruto went and picked him up when Genma announced the winner. Naruto took him to his brother and sister, handing him to them. I know about the invasion. If you three go hide until it's over, I'll make sure you won't be charged with anything. Also come and find me in a few days so I can fix his seal. As soon as Naruto finished, an explosion was heard at the Kage's booth and a barrier went on the building. People started rushing in from outside the stadium. 5 minutes later, all of the enemies in the stadium suddenly stopped moving, leaving all the Leaf Ninja confused. Suddenly Naruto spoke up. You know, shadow clones plus my improved version of the Hiraishin is quite deadly. With that, all the enemy shinobi fell over, either chopped in half or missing their heads. Soon after, everyone heard the Hokage yell from inside the barrier. I am appointing Naruto commander of the war until further notice. Everyone looked at Naruto, who grinned and released 3 tails again. Naruto went through a few hand signs and slammed his hands down. Kitsune summoning 4 guardian foxes. A giant plume of smoke later and 4 giant foxes, all about 3/4 the size of Gamabunta, were around the stadium. Umbu. As soon as he said that, all the Umbu in the area were around him. The captain walked up and spoke. Yes? I want you in 4 groups of the same size, and I want 1 group each to go with each kitsune. Lead them to the 4 points that sand and sound are attacking from. You got that? All of the Umbu and foxes spoke at the same time. Hi, Naruto-sama. The Umbu jumped away, all going to one fox or another. Naruto looked around for a second before deciding a course of action. Teams 7, 8, 9, and 10 along with Kotetsu and Izumo. Here now, the people who were in the arena that he mentioned were there instantly. The only person not there was Hinata, for obvious reasons. I want you all to head towards the academy. Kill any enemies on the way and protect any civilians. Once at the academy, make sure all the students are okay and take them to the bunkers in the Hokage monument. Most of them answered as the Umbu and Foxes did except 3. Why should we? Neji, Sasku, and Kurenai asked at the same time. Because if you don't, I will kill you for insubordination here and now. All of them shivered and nodded. They all hurried to do their jobs. Hyuga. Aburaim. Now all the Hyuga and Aburaim were around Naruto, well, at least the ones in the arena. Hayashi, take your 10 best Jukin users and head northwest of, as well as Yoshibi, take the best 10 Chakra Leech Insect users of your group with them. From what I can, there is a large group of Curse Mark users on a rampage. Your styles are best they keep for them. Try and keep as many alive as possible. All of them nodded and Hayashi and Shibi left with their respective people. The rest of you pair up and then head anywhere you see civilians that need help. They all quickly responded and headed off. Akamichi. Yamanaka. Nara. All of them were there very quickly, even the Nara who didn't want to anger Naruto. Shikaku, Choza, and Inoichi, take your 5 best respective fighters from your clan. Put them into best groups, and then take them to the front gates where most of the action. The rest of you get into teams of 3, 1 from each clan, and head to a different gate besides the front one. They were all about to leave when Naruto spoke up. Naras, if you slack for even a second, I will tell all of your wives, sisters, girlfriends, and mothers. Akamichi, I will make all of your clan go on a month-long diet of tofu. Yamanaka, I will make every one of you have to test my mind, and trust me, it isn't fun. All of the Naras and Akamichis shivered along with the Yamanakas who had tried to test Naruto's mind before. They all quickly left after that. That day everyone swore they had never seen a Nara work so hard in their lives. Root, Umbu, and Danzo, get the fuck down here. All of the Root and Danzo were quickly there. There was a little over 60 operatives. I don't care how you do it, but I want you to get to Orochimaru's village before he retreats and get back. All I know is it is located in the land of rice paddies and that it is a collection of underground bases. Danzo, if you betray me in any way, I'll rip out your Sharingans one by one. They all quickly left. Danzo knew that wasn't an idle threat. Naruto could and would do that, and probably in front of a public audience. Inuzuka. Soon all the Inuzuka were there. Some, I want you take your 15 best fighters to the main gate. The rest of you split up into 3 groups and head to different gates. They all actually howled in response and quickly left. Fuck, this is tiresome. I guess I should head to the main gate. Naruto disappeared into the improved Hirishin and appeared on top of the main gate. I was blown off its hinges. Naruto looked and saw there was about 500 enemies running towards somewhere. He looked and saw they were running towards his compound. Naruto quickly rushed to the front line where the people he sent were fighting the enemy. Why are they heading towards my compound? He noticed that everyone on his side looked like they didn't want to say. Tell me. Now, a guy in the enemy group yelled. Orochimaru promised us all the money and power someone could want to the person who gets inside that compound and impregnated that Hyuga girl. Q slaughter downstate, I came to play. Everyone froze up and looked at Naruto, who had sprouted all 7 tails. I want everyone that is my ally and doesn't want to die to leave now. I want you to all head to another gate. What will you do, Naruto-sama? Naruto unsheathed his sword and reached to his chest, unlocking his seals, causing anyone near him to go to their knees. I am going to take care of this gate. Personally. Guardian, you may leave. Hi, Naruto-sama. The giant kitsune disappeared in a poof of smoke. Naruto stabbed his sword into the ground and went through several hand signs nobody recognized, and then slammed his hands down. Demonic-style tomb of demons. 3 giant walls came up surrounding the enemy ninjas. All of you leave now. Once this tomb closes, it can't close until all but one is dead inside. All of the Leaf Nin jumped away, but they all stayed to watch. A 4th wall came up directly behind Naruto, and then a roof slid over the top of it, sealing it. Less than a minute later, they all heard screaming coming from the inside. View switch. The lid to the giant tomb had just shut, and almost all the enemies were scared shitless. In some cases this was literal. They couldn't see anything and could barely hear over their own hearts. A voice spoke up that seemed to everywhere at once. Where should I strike? The stomach, spine, eyes, ears, nose, chin, throat, lungs, kidneys, genitals, heart, or brain? So many choices. I think I'll take them all. People started panicking and screaming before Naruto ever attacked. He started out killing someone in the middle of groups so people around that person would attack. Naruto continued this 8 more times. By the end of the 9th kill, there was only 100 people left. He barely had to do anything. Naruto grinned, thinking of an idea. Last man standing gets to leave this place alive. Fight. The room lit up, but Naruto was nowhere to be seen. A couple of the weaker ones threw up when they saw the carnage. The rest immediately started fighting, tearing throats out and biting and scratching. Naruto noticed one guy had pretended to be dead. Once it was down to just one supposedly left, the guy jumped up and stabbed the guy in the back. The last man turned around to see Naruto standing there clapping. Excellent strategy. I had planned to just kill whoever was left, but now I've decided something else. You will go back to Sound and be my spy. As long as you are loyal, I will not kill you, and when Orochimaru is dead you may become a shinobi of the leaf. How does that sound? This man was no idiot. It did not take long for his answer. He dropped down to one knee and spoke. Thank you for the most gracious offer, master. Naruto chuckled. He knew what this man's answer would be because he was smart. Just call me, Diablo. Now here. Naruto handed the man a dagger. In 1 month at midnight throw this dagger into the ground once you know you are in a secure area. I will be there, and you will tell me all that you have found out about anything related to Orochimaru. Now before I get you out of here, what is your name? Naruto sniffed and grinned. Miss? The now identified woman looked up before taking off her mask. She had deep red hair and light red eyes. She also wore glasses. You are an Uzumaki, interesting. Why don't you have large chakra reserves? Because of Orochimaru's experiments, my large reserves were replaced with sensory abilities great enough to detect chakra in a newborn. My name is Karen Uzumaki. Interesting. You wouldn't happen to be related to Kushina Uzumaki? Also, how old are you and do you have the curse mark, or any other abilities? If someone bites me and absorbs my chakra, it will heal almost any wounds. The curse mark would interfere with my sensing abilities and I'm 13. No, but I have heard of her, but she was said to have abandoned her child, so she is a bitch in my book. Naruto looked down at her and smiled, confusing her. He picked her up and hugged her. Karen was stunned. She hadn't had any friendly contact in a long time because of the Orochi pedo. The last time she had any type of loving contact was around 8 years ago, when her village was burned to the ground. Naruto pulled away from a slightly blushing Karen. I am glad there is family out there that doesn't follow that bitch of a mother. If you don't mind me asking, who are you? I am Naruto, formerly an Uzumaki, and the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune and the possessor of the Rinnegan. Karen was stunned. He was a Jinchuriki and possessed the Rinnegan. If you're an Uzumaki, where's your red hair? Even if I did still have red hair, I dyed it, and my father had blonde hair, and that is what my natural hair color is. Now we must be going, please grab onto my arm. Karen was confused but listened and grabbed his arm. Now this will be very sickening, so try not to throw up. They vanished in a flash of red. They reappeared a few hundred yards outside the village. Karen was sick, but she didn't throw up. She had been through worse with the pedo. Now Karen, you should be going, remember, 1 month at midnight. Karen nodded and rushed off into the trees. Naruto watched her until he couldn't see her anymore. He disappeared again, reappearing inside the tomb, and it started to fall back down. Naruto knew he needed to seem angry, so he got back into Four Tails. When the walls completely fell, a lot of the fighters threw up from the massacre. Naruto turned to them. I want everyone to head to a different gate and help protect it. Go! All of them rushed off in different directions, and Naruto looked towards where Orochimaru was. Naruto disappeared and reappeared on top of the stadium. Naruto saw Sarutobi on the ground and Oanoki standing close by, panting heavily. Naruto looked to where Oanoki was looking and saw Orochimaru and a few others running away. He noticed the girl well behind the group, limping and cursing for them to wait for her. He guessed she had sprained her ankle and quickly rushed at her. He knocked her out and threw her over his shoulder. He went back over to Sarutobi and Oanoki. Tenzo. An Umbu jumped out of the trees and landed next to Naruto. Hi! Naruto handed the girl to him. Take her to the special Umbu holding cell and watch the door personally. If I find out anyone touched her, I will deal with them personally. Tenzo nodded and jumped away. Naruto turned towards Sarutobi and got on his knees to heal him. Sarutobi looked at him and smiled slightly. Naruto, I am sorry for not ever helping you. To show I'm sorry, I want you to be my successor. In 3 days' time you are the Godame Hokage. With that, the god of shinobi passed away? He was a good man. Naruto looked at Oanoki like he was stupid. He's being a drama queen. He'll be up and walking in a week at most, less if I give him personal attention. Naruto picked up the old man and shushined to the hospital. 3 days later. Council chamber. We must decide who the Hokage will be now that Sarutobi is not capable of being it. Everyone looked at Danzo and knew he was right even if they didn't like it. Jiraiya, you should be the Hokage, you are the strongest in the village. Jiraiya looked at the random civilian council member with hate. Firstly, I am not able to be the Hokage because of the spy network, and secondly, I am not sure I'm the strongest anymore. All of them wondered who Jiraiya thought was stronger than him. They were all trying to think of a suitable Hokage when the elders spoke up. Why not Kakashi? He is very strong and was an Umbu captain for quite a while. Before anyone could answer, the door to the chamber burst open. Naruto walked through the now open door. That perverted dog could never be Hokage, he is far too carefree. Anyway, Sarutobi has already wrote up the papers for a successor. Naruto snapped, and everyone had a paper. They all looked at it while Danzo read it out loud. I, Sarutobi Hiruzen, 3rd Hokage of Konoha, proclaim my successor, if I am unable to be Kage, as Naruto. Signed, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Oanoki of both scales, and Naruto. Everyone was now looking at Naruto, most of them with their jaws on the tables. A random civilian spoke up. A genin cannot be the Hokage. As that may be, I am not a genin. When Sarutobi announced me as commander of the war, he made me an elite jonin by default. Someone pulled out the Shinobi Laws book and started looking through it. 5 minutes later they looked up. He's right. By all rights, Naruto is a jonin. Everyone looked at Naruto, who had a giant grin. Danzo decided to speak up. Naruto, I have a proposal. Continue. You will be tested in each subject of the shinobi arts by our leading expert in each group, by the best in that group in the village. If you beat half of them, then you will be granted the title Hokage. Deal? Danzo smirked, knowing Naruto couldn't resist the challenge. Okay, but for each additional one I get to do something that everyone on the council has to be okay with. Deal? Naruto reached his hand out and Danzo took it. Deal. Someone write up the contract. Some council members got to work on it. Naruto was watching them and smirking. It will be in 3 days. Is that fine? Danzo nodded and Naruto left the room. 3 days later, stadium. Everyone was at the stadium even if most didn't know why. All people knew was that Naruto was sitting in the center of the field. People were chatting and some betting booths were set up, but not open yet. Suddenly a man came down there that many people knew as Danzo. Once he got to the center of the field where Naruto was laying down. What order do you want to do this? What are all of the choices again? Ninjutsu, Genjutsu, Taijutsu, Kenjutsu, Sealing, Intelligence, and a capture test. Let's do Ninjutsu, Taijutsu, Kenjutsu, Intelligence, Sealing, Genjutsu, then capture test. Okay. Danzo turned to the crowd ready to speak. Ladies and gentlemen of Konoha, today Naruto will be tested in 7 different aspects of being a shinobi. First will be ninjutsu, so Kakashi Hatake please come down. Kakashi shushined down reading his book. He quickly put it away and Naruto stood up lazily. They stood a good distance apart, and Danzo left. How many and which elements can you do? I have 4: water, lightning, fire, and earth. Okay, do a strong one of each, I'll counter them. Kakashi nodded and put his book away while Naruto just stood there lazily. First, fire. Kakashi started going through hand signs at amazing speeds to most people. He finished at put his hand up to his mouth. Fire style firestorm. Kakashi spit out a massive wave of fire that was heading straight for Naruto. Naruto just stood there and let the fire hit him. Kakashi was worried until the fire started to disappear and Naruto appeared sucking in the fire. After a few minutes the fire was gone, and Naruto was still standing looking bored. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Did he just eat an A-rank fire jutsu? Next, water. Kakashi went through hand signs again. When he was done he put his hand up to his mouth. Water style ultimate water dragon. A giant 3-headed water dragon soared towards Naruto who just stood there. Everyone was paying attention to the dragon and didn't notice Naruto glow a reddish hue. The dragon struck Naruto but instead of splashing it turned to mist, confusing everyone. The mist cleared, showing Naruto, who decided to explain. I layered fire chakra on my skin. Kakashi nodded in understanding. Next, lightning. Kakashi went through hand signs again. He stopped and clapped his hands together. Lightning style lightning spear. Kakashi separated his hands, stretching out a bolt of electricity. He grasped it in one hand and chucked it at Naruto. Naruto raised a finger towards the bolt. It came into contact with his finger and seemed to be absorbed. Electricity started crackling around Naruto, who just pointed one finger up. A bolt of electricity shot out, but it was much different from Kakashi's. A lot of the people were more surprised Naruto actually did something. Last, earth. Kakashi went through hand signs while Naruto covered 2 fingers in a layer of earth. Kakashi finished and slammed his foot down. Earth-style raging wave. A giant wave of earth crashed towards Naruto, who just raised his hand in a flick-ready position. When the wave was about to hit him, he flicked it with his earth-covered finger, and the wave crumbled. Since you don't know any wind jutsus worth my time, we will skip that. Know any strong chakra only jutsus? Not really. Best I got is a B rank. Okay, then my turn. Try not to die. Naruto did 5 hand signs and put his hands together. Fire style fire bomb. Naruto raised his hands above his head and threw an orb of fire towards Kakashi, who quickly made a wall of water. When the orb hit the wall, it seemed to wash over it. It took 3 minutes for Kakashi to get rid of the fire. When it was done, Kakashi was panting. Naruto went through 4 hand signs and put his hand to his mouth. Water style 6-headed hydra. A giant 6-headed hydra was soaring towards Kakashi, who quickly made a wall of earth and covered himself in a thick layer of earth for extra measure. The hydra was stopped by the earth wall for a few seconds and lost 2 heads but charged through it. The hydra slammed into Kakashi, who was thrown against the stadium wall. After about a minute, Kakashi got up and the armor fell away. People could clearly see bruises on him. Kakashi, let me show you a real lightning spear. Naruto went through 6 hand signs and slammed his hands together. Lightning style Zeus bolt. Naruto stretched his arms apart, and a giant bolt of lightning. Naruto grasped it in one hand and chucked it towards the cloud. It took a few minutes, but it started storming and lightning started striking in the arena. Naruto again went through 5 hand signs and put his hand up to his mouth. Wind style Hermes whirlwind. Naruto pushed out wind-infused chakra, causing 3 giant tornadoes to form and start spinning around. Everyone was gawking in awe at the sight, but Naruto wasn't finished. He went through 4 more hand signs and stomped his foot. Earth style quaking Olympus. The ground started shaking greatly and cracks started forming everywhere. Naruto smirked at everyone's expression and went through 7 hand signs and raised his hands up. Ice style Kion's hail. Large chunks of ice started to fall from the sky. Through all of this, no one had been hit by anything, but Naruto still had one more thing to do. He went through 8 more hand signs and slammed his hands down. Lava style Hephaestus forge. The cracks that were made in the ground were now boiling over with lava. Kakashi was scared to death and didn't even want to move because he was afraid he would die if he did. Naruto decided to speak up. This is a personal jutsu of mine. Collaboration style godly wrath. Everyone in the arena thought it was a very fitting name. Could you end it? Naruto nodded and snapped his fingers. The clouds started to clear, the hail turned to a light drizzle, the tornadoes started dying down, the lava disappeared into the ground, and the cracks started closing. Within minutes everything was perfectly calm like nothing had happened. I guess I won that one. Kakashi just nodded dumbly and walked away. Naruto chuckled and looked around. People were still frozen from shock that he could do all that. He saw Guy jump up and jump down to the stadium. Guy got a few yards away from Naruto, skipping Tai and Ken because I feel like it, so yeah. On to the show. Naruto had just defeated Yugao and Gekko in a Kenjutsu spar after beating Guy in a brutal taijutsu match. Now they were waiting on Shikaku to get down for the intelligence test. He finally showed up and they both sat down at a shogi board with some mats on either side. They started the game, and it was pretty close. Naruto suddenly stood up. Time out. I need something. Naruto quickly disappeared and everyone heard an eep. Naruto appeared with Hinata in his lap and he was stroking her hair. They continued the match. It went on for 10 more minutes. When Naruto finally won the match, everyone was surprised that anyone could beat Shikaku at shogi. Shikaku stood up and walked away with the board and his mat, muttering troublesome. Naruto just chuckled and looked down at Hinata, who had fallen asleep. Jiraiya jumped into the middle of the arena and Naruto looked up at him. Just try making a barrier to contain me. I don't want to wake her up. Jiraiya began working and was finished 10 minutes later. A green jail-like cage came up around Naruto, who just looked around and started cutting at seemingly random places with his claw. After a few minutes he made one final cut and the whole thing disappeared. I win. Jiraiya nodded and left, stunned at how quickly he destroyed the barrier. Suddenly 3 masked Ambu appeared around him. We are the best hunter group in the village. You have 10 minutes to hide yourself somewhere in the village. You must remain hidden for 1 hour. How about I won't leave the stadium and remain hidden for 20 minutes? With that, Naruto just disappeared along with Hinata. The hunter started looking around. After 20 minutes they had found nothing and gave up. Naruto seemingly appeared again where he was before. Danzo shushined next to Naruto, who had stood up supporting Hinata, who had woken up. Danzo turned to the crowd. People of Konoha, I give you the Godame Hokage Naruto. Everyone started roaring and screaming for Naruto, who just grinned. 1 week later, Hokage office. Naruto was laying on a couch in the office with Hinata on his chest. She was nearly asleep and he wasn't too far behind. Suddenly the door was busted open and someone walked in. Naruto looked towards the person and grinned evilly. Hello, mother. What if Naruto was trained by demon in Forest of Death? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel. And leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.